it's like, oh, well, that's the way, that was my attempted original pronunciation, because we don't know definitely about that. And just the important thing is so many of these things where you don't know how to pronounce it, nobody else knows how to pronounce it. So if you do it with confidence, they'll believe you. So welcome. We are now live streaming. My name is Paul Sugarman, and this is the Instant Shakespeare Company. And today we are doing a reading of the first part of Henry IV. And I will be reading Sir Walter Blunt, Gadshill, and various servants and messengers, and Richard Vernon in the play. And okay, Angus.
Angus Hepburn from London, Ralph Neville, the Earl of Westmoreland, Bardolph, one of Falstaff's men, Glendower, the Welshman, Douglas, the Earl of Douglas, the Scotsman, and then various travellers and things.
Okay, thank you. And Kitty.
I'm Kitty Chen. I'm going to be reading Thomas Percy, Earl of Worcester, and Richard Scrope, the Archbishop of York.
All righty. And Nika.
Hello, everyone. I am here from U.S., Rhode Island, and I'll be reading for Lady Percy, second carrier, and Chamberlain. Oh, and a thief, Pico.
Thank you. And Eleanor.
I'm playing Ned Poins, one of the low lives with Falstaff, and the Earl of Northumberland, who is Hotspur's father, and Prince John, Hal's brother, and Mistress Quickly, the hostess of the Garter, and Lord Mortimer, as well. Oh, and Sir Michael, as well as a carrier and a sheriff.
Great, thank you. David.
Oh, I'm Eleanor Elizabeth Foreman. Forgot to say that, I think.
My name is David Kelly. I'm playing Hotspur. I have to say this is the second time in my life I've played this role. The last time I was 18 years old.
Great, thank you. And Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel, reading from New York. I'm playing Hal.
Okay, and Ken.
Kenneth Wayne, I'm King Henry IV.
All right, great. And Steve.
Steve is muted.
You're muted at the moment.
Steve Capra in New York, reading Falstaff. No, I'm not, Falstaff.
Yes. All righty. And we thank you. We're going to begin. We're not going to read. I'll read a few stage directions, but not entrances and exits. And so just have fun and share the text. Like the first part of King Henry IV, Actus Primus, Scena Prima.
Okay. Getting to the script in just a moment.
Enter the King, Lord John of Lancaster, Earl of Westmoreland, with others.
So shaken as we are, so one with care, find we a time for frighted peace to pant and breathe short-winded accents of new broils to be commenced in strands afar remote. No more the thirsty entrance of the soil shall daub her lips with her own children's blood. No more shall trenching war channel her fields, nor bruise her flowerets with the armored hoofs of hostile voices. Those opposed eyes, which like the meteors of a troubled heaven, all of one nature, of one substance bred, did lately meet in the intestine shock and furious close of civil butchery, shall now in mutual well-beseeming ranks march all one way, and be no more opposed against acquaintance, kindred, and allies. The edge of war, like an ill-sheathed knife, no more shall cut his master. Therefore, friends, as far as to the sepulchre of Christ, whose soldier now under whose blessed cross we are impressed and engaged to fight. Forth with the power of English shall we levy, whose arms were moulded in their mother's womb, to chase these pagans in those holy fields, over whose acres walked those blessed feet, which 1400 years ago were nailed for our advantage on the bitter cross. But this our purpose is a 12-month-old, and bootless 'tis to tell you we will go, therefore we meet not now. Then let me hear of you, my gentle cousin Westmoreland, what yesternight our council did decree in forwarding this dear expedience.
My liege, this haste was hot in question, and many limits of the charge set down but yesternight, when all athwart there came a post from Wales, laden with heavy news, whose worst was that the noble Mortimer, leading the men of Herefordshire to fight against the irregular and wild Glendower, was by the rude hands of that Welshman taken, and by 1,000 of his people butchered, upon whose dead corpses there was much misuse, such beastly, shameless transformation by those Welsh women done, as may not be without much shame retold or spoken of.
It seems then that the tidings of this broil break off our business for the Holy Land.
This match, with others like, my gracious lord, far more uneven and unwelcome news came from the north, and thus it did report on Holyrood Day the gallant Hotspur there, young Harry Percy and brave Archibald, that ever valiant and approved Scot, at Holmedon met, where they did spend a sad and bloody hour, as by discharge of their artillery and shape of likelihood the news was told. For he that brought them in the very heat and pride of their contention did take horse, uncertain of the issue any way.
Here is a dear and true friend, Sir Walter Blunt, new lighted from his horse, strained with the variation of each soil betwixt that Holmedon and this seat of ours, and he hath brought us smooth and welcome news. The Earl of Douglas is discomfited. 10,000 bold Scots, 22 knights balked in their own blood did Sir Walter see on Holmedon's plains. Of prisoners Hotspur took Mordake, Earl of Fife, an eldest son to Beaton Douglas, and the Earl of Athol of Murray, Angus, and Menteith. And is not this an honourable spoil, a gallant prize, cousin, is it not? In faith it is.
Conquest for a prince to boast of.
Yea, there thou makest me sad, and makest me sin and envy that my Lord Northumberland should be the father of so blessed a son who is the theme of honour's tongue amongst a grove, the very straightest plant, who is sweet fortune's minion and her pride, whilst I, by looking on the praise of him, see riot and dishonour stain the brow of my young Harry. Oh, that it could be proved that some night-tripping fairy had exchanged in cradle clothes our children where they lay, and called mine Percy his Plantagenet. Then would I have his Harry and he mine, but let him from my thoughts. What think you, cuz, of this young Percy's pride? The prisoners which he in this adventure hath surprised, to his own use he keeps, and sends me word I shall have none but Mordake, Earl of Fife.
This is his uncle's teaching. This is Worcester malevolent to you in all respects, which makes him prune himself and bristle up the crest of youth against your dignity.
But I have sent for him to answer this, and for this cause a while we must neglect our holy purpose to Jerusalem. Cousin, on Wednesday next our council we will hold at Windsor, and so inform the lords. But come yourself with speed to us again, for more is to be said and to be done than out of anger can be uttered.
I will, my liege.
Steve, you're muted.
Now, Hal, what time of day is it, lad?
Thou art so fat-witted with drinking of old sack, and unbuttoning the after supper, and sleeping upon benches in the afternoon, that thou hast forgotten to demand that truly which thou wouldst truly know. What the devil hast thou to do with the time of the day? Unless hours were cups of sack, and minutes capons, and clocks the tongues of bawds, and dials the signs of leaping houses, and the blessed sun himself, a fair hot wench in flame-colored taffeta, I see no reason why thou shouldst be so superfluous to demand the time of the day.
Oh, indeed, you are come near me now, Hal, for we that take purses go by the moon and 7 stars, and not by Phoebus he, that wandering night so fair. And I prithee, sweet wag, when thou art king, as God save thy grace, majesty, I should say, for grace thou wilt have none.
What, none?
No, not so much as will serve to be prologue to an egg and butter.
Well, how then? Come, roundly, roundly.
Marry then, sweet wag, when thou art king, let not us that are squires of the night's body be called thieves of the day's beauty. Let us be Diana's foresters, gentlemen of the shade, minions of the moon, and let men say we be men of good government, being governed as the sea is, by our noble and chaste mistress, the moon, under whose countenance we steal.
Thou sayest well, and it holds well too, for the fortune of us that are the moon's men doth ebb and flow like the sea, being governed as the sea is by the moon, as for proof. Now, a purse of gold most resolutely snatched on Monday night, and most dissolutely spent on Tuesday morning, got with swearing, lay by, and spent with crying, bring in. Now, in as low an ebb as the foot of the ladder, and by in as high a flow as the ridge of the gallows.
Thou sayest true, lad. And is not my hostess of the tavern a most sweet wench?
As is the honey, my old lad of the castle, and is not a buff jerk in a most sweet robe of durance.
How now? How now, mad wag? What in thy quips and thy quiddities? What a plague have I do't with a buff jerkin?
Why, what a pox have I to do with my hostess of the tavern?
Well, thou hast called her to a reckoning many a time and oft.
Did I ever call for thee to pay thy part?
No, I'll give thee thy due. Thou hast paid all there.
Yea, and elsewhere, so far as my coin would stretch, and where it would not, I have used my credit.
Yes, and so used it that it were here apparent that thou art heir apparent. But I prithee, sweet wag, shall there be gallows standing in England when thou art king? And resolution thus fobbed as it is with the rusty curb of old Father Antic the law? Do not thou, when thou art a king, hang a thief.
No, thou shalt.
Shall I? Oh, rare. I'll be a brave judge.
Thou judgest false already. I mean, thou shalt have the hanging of thieves, and so become a rare executor hangman.
Well, Hal, well, and some sort of jumps with my humor as well as waiting in the court, I can tell you.
For obtaining of suits?
Yea, for obtaining of sweets whereof the hangman hath no lean wardrobe. I am as melancholy as a gib cat or a lugged bear.
Or a lion, or a lover's lute.
Yea, or the drone of a Lincolnshire bagpipe.
What sayst thou to a hare? Or the melancholy of Moorditch?
Thou hast the most unsavory smiles, and art indeed the most comparative rascalest, sweet young prince. Oh, but Hal, I prithee, trouble me no more with vanity. I would thou and I knew where a commodity of good names were to be brought. An old lord of the council waited me the other day in the street about you, sir, but I mocked him not. And yet he talked very wisely, but I regarded him not. And yet he talked wisely. And in the street, too.
Thou didst well, for no man regards it.
Oh, thou hast damned alliteration, and art indeed able to corrupt a saint. Thou hast done much harm unto me, Hal. God forgive thee for it. Before I knew thee, Hal, I knew nothing, and now I am, if a man should speak truly, A little better than one of the wicked. I must give over this life, and I will give it over. And I do not, I am a villain. I'll be damned for never a king's son in Christendom.
Where shall we take a purse tomorrow, Jack?
Oh, where thou wilt, lad, I'll make one. And I do not, call me villain and baffle me.
I see a good amendment of life in thee, from praying to purse taking.
Why, how? 'Tis my vocation, how? 'Tis no sin for a man to labor in his vocation.
Now shall we know if Gad's hill have set a watch? Oh, if men were to be saved by merit, what hole in hell were hot enough for him? This is the most omnipotent villain that ever cried, stand to a true man.
Good morrow, Ned.
Good morrow, sweet Hal. What says Monsieur Remorse? What says Sir John Sack and Sugar? Jack, how agrees the devil in thee about thy soul that thou soldst him on Good Friday last for a cup of Madeira and a cold captain's leg?
Sir John stands to his word. The devil shall have his bargain, for he was never yet a breaker of proverbs. He will give the devil his due.
Then art thou damned for keeping thy word with the devil.
Else he had damned cousining the devil.
But my lads, tomorrow morning by 4 o'clock, early at Gad's Hill, there are pilgrims going to Canterbury with rich offerings, and traders riding to London with fat purses. I have vizards for you all. You have horses for yourselves. Gad's Hill lies tonight in Rochester. I've bespoke supper tomorrow in Eastcheap. We may do it as secure as sleep. If you will go, I will stuff your purses full of crowns. If you will not, tarry at home and be hanged.
Hear ye, Edward, if I tarry at home and go not, I'll hang for going.
You will.
You will, Chops.
Hal, wilt thou make one?
Who? I, Rob? I, a thief? Not I.
There's neither honesty, manhood, nor good fellowship in thee. Now thou camest not of blood royal if thou darest not stand for 10 shillings.
Well then, once in my days I'll be a madcap.
Well, that's well said.
Well, come what will, I'll tarry at home.
I'll be a traitor then when thou art king.
I care not.
Sir John, I prithee leave the prince and me alone. I will lay him down such reasons for this adventure that he shall go.
Well, mayst thou have the spirit of persuasion, and he the ears of profiting, that what thou speakest may move, and what he hears may be believed, that the true prince may, for recreation's sake, prove a false thief, for the poor abuses of the time want continence. Farewell. You shall find me in Eastcheap.
Farewell the latter spring, farewell all hallow summer.
Farewell. Farewell, Sir John. Farewell, Sir John. Farewell, and allow me to speak with him in privacy.
I am lost.
Farewell.
You've exited. You can just stop your video and mute yourself for now. All right, just go on then.
Now, my good, sweet honey lord, ride with us tomorrow. I have a jest to execute that I cannot manage alone. Falstaff, Harvey, Russell, and Gadshill shall rob those men that we have already waylaid. Yourself and I will not be there. And when they have the booty, if you and I do not rob them, cut this head from my shoulders.
But how shall we part with them in setting forth?
Why, we shall set forth before or after them, and appoint them a place of meeting wherein it is at our pleasure to fail. And then will they adventure upon the exploit themselves, which they shall have no sooner achieved, but will set upon them.
Aye, but 'tis like that they will know us by our horses, by our habits, by every other appointment to be ourselves.
Our horses I shall not see. I'll tie them in the wood. Our vizards we will change after we will leave them. And Sirrah, I have cases of buckram for the nonce to in-mask our noted outward garments.
But I doubt they will be too hard for us.
Well, for two of them, I know them to be as true-bred cowards as ever turned back. And for the third, if he fight longer than he sees reason, I'll forswear arms. The virtue of this jest will be the incomprehensible lies that this fat rogue will tell us when we meet at supper. How 30 at least he fought with, what wards, what blows, what extremities he endured. And in the reproof of this lies the jest.
Well, I'll go with thee. Provide us all things necessary and meet me tomorrow night in Eastcheap. There I'll sup. Farewell.
Farewell, my lord.
I know you all, and will a while uphold the unyoked humor of your idleness. Yet herein will I imitate the sun, who doth permit the base contagious clouds to smother up his beauty from the world, that when he please again to be himself, being wanted, he may be more wondered at, by breaking through the foul and ugly mists of vapors that did seem to strangle him. If all the year were playing holidays, to sport would be as tedious as to work. But when they seldom come, they wished for come. Nothing pleaseth but rare accidents. So, when this loose behavior I throw off, and pay the debt I never promised, by how much better than my word I am, by so much shall I falsify men's hopes. And like bright metal on a sullen ground, my reformation glittering o'er my fault shall show more goodly, and attract more eyes, than that which hath no foil to set it off. I'll so offend to make offense a skill, redeeming time when men least think I will.
My blood hath been too cold and temperate, unapt to stir at these indignities, and you have found me. For accordingly you tread upon my patience, but be sure I will from henceforth rather be myself, mighty and to be feared, than my condition which hath been smooth as oil, soft as young down, and therefore lost that title of respect which the proud soul ne'er pays but to the proud.
Our house, my sovereign liege, little deserves the scourge of greatnesses to be used on it. And that same greatness too, which our own hands have hoped to make so portly.
My lord.
Worcester, get thee gone, for I do see danger and disobedience in thine eye. O sir, your presence is too bold and peremptory, and majesty might never yet endure the moody frontier of a servant's brow. You have good leave to leave us. When we need your use in council, we shall send for you. You were about to speak?
Yea, my good lord. Those prisoners in your highness demanded, which Harry Percy here at home down took, were, as he says, not with such strength denied as was delivered to your majesty, who either through envy or misprision was guilty of this fault, and not my son.
My liege, I did deny no prisoners, but I remember when the fight was done, when I was dry with rage and extreme toil, breathless and faint, leaning upon my sword, came there a certain lord, neat and trimly dressed, fresh as a bridegroom, and his chin new reaped. shewed like a stubble land at harvest home, when he was perfumed like a milliner, and twixt his finger and his thumb he held a pouncet box, and ever and anon he gave his nose, and took it away again, who therewith angry when it next came there, took it in snuff. And still he smiled and talked, and as the soldiers bore dead bodies by, he called them untaught knaves, unmannerly, to bring a slovenly unhandsome corse between the wind and his nobility. With many holiday and lady term he questioned me, among the rest demanded my prisoners in your majesty's behalf. I then, all smarting with my wounds being cold, to be so pestered with a popinjay, out of my grief and my impatience, answered neglectingly, I know not what. He should or he should not, for he made me mad, to see him shine so brisk, and smell so sweet, and talk so like a waiting gentlewoman, of guns and drums, wounds, God save the mark, and telling me the sovereignest thing on earth was Parma city for an inward bruise, and that it was great pity, so it was, that Vilna saltpeter should be digged out of the bowels of the harmless earth, which many a good tall fellow had destroyed. So cowardly, and but for these vile guns he would himself have been a soldier. This bald, unjointed chat of his, my lord, make me to answer indirectly, as I said. And I beseech you, let not this report come current for an accusation betwixt my love and your high majesty.
The circumstances considered, good my lord, whatever Harry Percy then had said to such a person and in such a place, at such a time, with all the rest we told, may reasonably die, and never rise to do him wrong, or any way impeach what then he said, so he unsay it now.
Why, yet he doth deny his prisoners, but with proviso and exception, that we at our own charge shall ransom his brother-in-law, the foolish Mortimer, who in soul had wilfully betrayed the lives of those that he did lead to fight against the great magician damned Glendower, whose daughter, as we hear, the Earl of March hath lately married. Shall our coffers then be empty to redeem a traitor home? Shall we buy treason and indent with fears when they have lost and forfeited themselves? No. On the barren mountain let him starve, for I shall never hold that man my friend, whose tongue shall ask me for 1 penny cost to ransom home revolted Mortimer.
Revolted Mortimer? He never did fall off, my sovereign liege, but by the chance of war, to prove that true needs no more but one tongue. For all those wounds, those malvid wounds, which valiantly he took, when on gentle Severn's siege bank, in single opposition, hand to hand, he did confound the best of an hour, in changing hardiment with great Glendower. 3 times they breathe, and 3 times did they drink, upon agreement of swift Severn's flood, who then, affrighted with their bloody looks, ran fearfully among the trembling reeds, and hid his crisp head in the hollow bank. Blood-stained with these valiant combatants, never did base and rotten policy color her working with such deadly wounds. Never, nor never could noble Mortimer receive so many, and all willingly, then let him not be slandered with revolt.
Thou dost belie him, Percy, thou dost belie him. He never did encounter with Glendower. I tell thee he just as well have met the devil alone as Owen Glendower for an enemy. Art thou not ashamed? Oh, Sarah, henceforth let me not hear you speak of Mortimer. Send me your prisoners with the speediest means, or you shall hear in such a kind from me as will displease ye. My lord Northumberland, we license your departure with your son. Send us your prisoners, or you'll hear of it.
And if the devil come and roar for them, I will not send them. I will after straight and tell him so, for I will ease my heart, although it be with hazard of my head.
What? Drunk with choler? Stay and pause a while. Here comes your uncle.
Speak of Mortimer? Yes, I will speak of him, and let my soul want mercy if I do not join with him in his behalf. I'll empty all these veins and shed my dear blood drop by drop in the dust. But I will lift the downfall, Mortimer, as high in the air as this unthankful king, as this ingrate and cankered Bolingbroke.
Brother, the king hath made your nephew mad.
Who struck this heat up after I was gone?
He will forsooth have all my prisoners, and when I urged the ransom once again of my wife's brother, then his cheek looked pale, and on my face he turned an eye of death, trembling even at the name of Mortimer.
I cannot blame him. Was he not proclaimed by Richard that debt is the next of blood?
He was. I heard the proclamation, and then it was when the unhappy king, whose wrongs in us God pardon, did set forth upon his Irish expedition, from whence he intercepted, did return to be deposed, and shortly murdered.
For whose death we in the world's wide mouth live scandalized and foully spoken of.
But soft, I pray you. Did King Richard then proclaim my brother Mortimer heir to the crown?
He did. Myself did hear of it.
Nay, then I cannot blame his cousin king that wished him on the barren mountains starved. But shall it be that you that set the crown upon the head of this forgetful man, and for his sake wore the detested blot of murderous subornation? Shall it be that you a world of curses undergo, being the agents or base second means, the cords, the ladder, or the hangman rather? Oh, pardon if I descend so low, to show the line and the predicament wherein you range under this subtle king. Shall it for shame be spoken in these days, or fill up chronicles in time to come, that men of your nobility and power did gauge them both in an unjust behalf, as both of you, God pardon it, have done, to put down Richard, that sweet, lovely rose, and plant this thorn, this canker Bolingbroke? And shall it more shame be further spoken that you are fooled, discarded, and shook off by him, for whom these shames ye underwent? No, yet time serves, wherein you may redeem your banished honors, and restore yourselves into the good thoughts of the world again. Revenge the jeering and disdained contempt of this proud king, who studies day and night to answer all the debt he owes unto you, even with the bloody payment of your deaths. Therefore I say, you must
say no more. And now I will unclasp a secret book. To your quick concealing discontents, I'll read you matter deep and dangerous, as full of peril and adventure spirit as to o'erwalk a current, roaring loud on the unsteadfast footing of a spear.
If he fall in, good night, or sink or swim. Send danger from the east into the west, so honor cross it from the north to south, and let them grapple. The blood more stirs to rouse a lion than to start a hare.
Imagination of some great exploit drives him beyond the bounds of patience.
By heaven, methinks it were an easy leap to pluck bright honor from the pale-faced moon, or dive into the bottom of the deep, while fathom line could never touch the ground, and pluck up drowned honor by the locks, so he that doth redeem her hence might wear with co-rival of all her dignities, but out with this half-faced fellowship.
He apprehends a world of figures here, not the form of what he should attend. But cousin, give me audience for a while and list to me.
I cry you mercy.
Those same noble Scots that are your prisoners.
I'll keep them all. By heaven, he shall not have a Scot of them. No, if a Scot would save his soul, he shall not. I'll keep them by this hand.
You start away and lend no ear unto my purposes. Those prisoners you shall keep.
Nay, I will. That's flat. He said he would not ransom Mortimer, forbade my tongue to speak of Mortimer. but I will find him when he lies asleep, and in his ear I'll holler, Mortimer! Nay, I'll have a starling shall be taught to speak nothing but Mortimer, and give it him, to keep his anger still in motion.
Hear you, cousin, a word.
All studies here I solemnly defy, save how to gall and pinch this Bolingbroke, and that same sword and buckler, Prince of Wales, but that I think his father loves him not, and would be glad he met with some mischance. I would have poisoned him with a pot of ale.
Farewell, kinsman. I'll talk to you when you are better tempered to attend.
Why, what of wasp-tongued and impatient fool art thou, to break into this woman's mood, tying thine ear to no tongue but thine own?
Why, look you, I am whipped and scourged with rods, nettled and stung with pismires, when I hear of this vile politician Bolingbroke. In Richard's time, what do you call the place? A plague upon it, it's in Gloucestershire. 'Twas where the madcap duke his uncle kept, his uncle York, where I first bowed my knee unto this king of smiles, this Bolingbroke, when you and he came back from Ravensburg.
At Berkeley Castle.
You say true. Why, what a cawdy deal of courtesy this fawning greyhound then did proffer me. Look, when his infant fortune came to age, and gentle Harry Percy and kind cousin, oh, the devil take such cozeners. God forbid me. Good uncle, tell your tale, for I have done.
Nay, if you have not, to't again will stay your leisure.
I have done, forsooth.
Then once more to your Scottish prisoners, deliver them up without their ransom straight, and make the Douglas son your only mean for powers in Scotland, which for divers reasons which I shall send you written, be assured will easily be granted you, my lord. Your son in Scotland being thus employed, shall secretly into the bosom creep of that same noble prelate, well beloved, the Archbishop.
Of York, is it not?
True. Who bears hard his brother's death at Bristol, the Lord Scroop. I speak not this in estimation as what I think might be, but what I know is ruminated, plotted, and set down, and only stays but to behold the face of that occasion that shall bring it on.
I smell it. Upon my life, it will do wondrous well.
Before the game's afoot, thou shalt.
Before the game's afoot, thou still let slip.
Why, it cannot choose but be a noble plot when the power of Scotland and of York to join with Mortimer. Ha!
And so they shall.
In faith, it is exceedingly well aimed.
And 'tis no little reason bids us speed to save our heads by raising of a head. For bear ourselves as even as we can, the king will always think him in our debt, and we think ourselves unsatisfied, till he hath found it time to pay us home. And see already how he doth begin to make us strangers to his looks of love.
He does. We'll be revenged on him.
Cousin, farewell. No further go in this, then I by letters shall direct your course when time is ripe, which shall be suddenly. I'll steal to Glendower, and lo, Mortimer, where you and Douglas and our powers at once, as I will fashion it, shall happily meet, bear our fortunes in our own strong arms, which now we hold at much uncertainty.
Farewell, good brother. We shall thrive, I trust.
Uncle, adieu. Oh, let the hours be short till fields and blows and groans applaud our sport.
Enter a carrier with a lantern in his hand.
Hi-ho! And be not for by the day I'll be hanged. Charles Wayne is over the new chimney, and yet our horse not packed. What, ostler?
Anon, anon.
I prithee, Tom, beat, cut, saddle, put a few flocks in the point. The poor jade is wrung in the withers, all out of cease.
Peas and beans are as donkey here as a dog, and this is the next way to give poor Jadis Botus. This house is turned upside down since Robin and Ursula died.
Poor fellow never joyed since the price of oats rose. It was the death of him.
I think this is the most villainous house in all London Road for fleas. I am stung like a trench.
Like a tench. There's ne'er a king in Christendom could be better bit than I've been since the first cock.
Why, you will allow us never as Jordan and then us leak to your chimney and your chamber lie breeds feet like a loach?
What, Ostler? Come away and be hanged. Come away.
Ah, I have a gammon of bacon and 2 raisins of ginger to be delivered as fair as a Charing Cross.
The turkeys in my pannier are quite starved. What, Ostler? A plague on thee, hast thou never an eye in thy head? Canst not hear? And 'twere not a good a deed as drink to break the pate of thee. I'm a very villain. Come and be hanged. Hast thou faith in thee?
Good morrow, carriers. What's o'clock?
I think it be 2 o'clock.
I prithee, lend me thy lantern to see my gelding in the stable.
Nay, soft I pray thee. I know a trick worth 2 of that.
I prithee, lend me thine.
I when canst tell? Let me the line horn. Quota A. Mary, I'll see thee hangs first.
Sarah, carrier, what time do you mean to come to London?
Time enough to go to bed with a candle, I warrant thee. Come, neighbor Muggis, we'll call up the gentlemen. They will along with company, for they have great charge.
What ho, Chamberlain?
At hand, quoth, pick purse.
That's even as fair as at hand, quoth the Chamberlain, for thou variest no more from picking of purses than giving direction doth from laboring. Thou layest the plot how?
Good morrow, Master Gadshill. It holds current that I told you yesternight. There is a franklin in the Wilder of Kent, hath brought 300 markers with him in gold. I heard him tell it to one of his company last night at supper. Yeah, a kinder of auditor, one that had abundance in charge too. God knows that. They are up already and call the eggs and butter. They will away presently.
Sirrah, if they meet not with St. Nicholas Clark's, I'll give thee this neck.
No, I'll none of it. Yeah. I prithee keep that for the hangman, for I know you worship St. Nicholas, as truly as man as falsehood man.
What? Talkest thou to me of the hangman? If I hang, I'll make a fat pair of gallows, for if I hang, old Sir John hangs with me, and thou no seest no starveling. Tut, there are other Trojans that thou dream'st not of, which, for sport's sake, are content to do thee profession some grace, and would, if matters should be looked into, for their own credit's sake, make all whole. I am joined with no footland rakers, no long staff, sixpenny strikers, none of these mad mustachio, purple-hued maltworms, but with nobility and tranquillity, burgomasters and great annoyers, such as can hold in, such as will strike sooner than speak, and speak sooner than drink, and drink sooner than pray. And yet I lie, for they pray continually unto the saint the Commonwealth, or rather not pray to her, but pray on her, for they ride up and down on her, and make her their boots.
What? The Commonwealth their boots? Will she hold out water in foul way?
Oh, she will, she will. Justice hath liquored her. We steal as in a castle, cocksure. We have the receipt of fern seed, we walk invisible.
Nay, I twinkle rather. You are more beholding to the night Then to the front seat, for your walking invisible.
Well, give me thy hand. Thou shalt have a share in our purpose, as I am a true man.
Nay, rather lay me have it, as you are a false thief.
Go to. Homo is a common name for all men. Bid the ostler bring the gelding out of the stable. Farewell, ye muddy knave.
Come, shelter, shelter. I've removed Falstaff's horse, and he frets like a gummed velvet.
And close.
Eve, I've asked you to start your video.
Poins, poins, and be hanged, poins.
Peace, you fat kidneyed rascal. What a brawling dost thou keep?
What? Poins? Hal?
He has walked up to the top of the hill. I'll go seek him.
I am accursed to rob in that thief's company. That rascal hath removed my horse and tied him I know not where. If I travel but 4 feet by the squire further afoot, I shall break my wind. Well, I doubt not but to die a fair death for all this. If I scape hanging for killing that roll, I have forsworn his company hourly any time this 22 year, and yet I am bewitched with the rogue's company. If the rascal have not given me medicines to make me love him, I'll be hanged. It could not be else. I have drunk medicines. Poins, Hal, a plague on you both. Bardolph, Peto, I'll starve ere I rob a foot further. And 'twere not as good a deed as to drink, to turn true men and to leave these rogues. I am the veriest varlet that ever chewed with a tooth. 8 yards of uneven ground is 70 miles afoot with me, and the stony-hearted villains know it well enough. A plague upon thee, when thieves cannot be true to one another. A plague light upon you all. Give my horse, you rogues. Give me my horse, and be hanged.
Peace, you fat guts. Lie down. Lay thine ear close to the ground, and list if thou can hear the tread of travelers.
Have you any levers to lift me up again, being down? I'll not bear mine own flesh so far afoot again for all the coin in thy father's exchequer. What a plague mean you to colt me thus?
Thou liest. Thou art not colted, thou art uncolted.
I prithee, good Prince Hal, help me to my horse, good king's son.
Out, you rogue. Shall I be your ostler?
Go hang thyself in thine own heir apparent garters. If I be ta'en, I'll peach for this. And I have not ballads made on all and sung to filthy tunes. Let a cup of sack be my poison. When a jest is so forward and a foot too, I hate it.
Stand!
Oh, so I do, against my will.
Oh, 'tis our setter. I know his voice. Bardolph, what news?
Casey, on with your visage. There's money of the king's coming down the hill. 'Tis going to the king's exchequer.
Lie, you rogue. Is going to the king's tavern.
There's enough to make us all.
To be hanged.
You 4 shall front them in the narrow lane. Ned and I will walk lower. If they escape from your encounter, they light on us.
But how many be of them?
Some 8 or 10.
Will they not rob us?
What? A coward, Sir John Paunch?
Indeed, I am not John of Gaunt, your grandfather, but yet no coward, Hal.
We'll leave that to the proof.
Sir Jack, thy horse stands behind the hedge. When thou needst him, there thou shalt find him. Farewell, and stand fast.
Now cannot I strike him if I should be hanged.
Ned, where are our disguises?
Here, hard by. Stand close.
Now, my masters, happy man be his dole, say I. Every man to his business.
Come, neighbor, the boy shall lead our horses down the hill. We'll walk a foot a while and ease our legs.
Stay!
Hey!
Jesus, bless us!
Strike down with them. Cut the villains' throats, a horse and caterpillars, bacon-fed knaves. They hate us youth. Down with them, fleece them.
Oh, we are undone, both we and ours, forever.
Hang ye gore-bellied knaves, are you undone? No, ye fat guffs, I would your store were here. On bacon's on, what you knaves, young men must live, you are grand jurors, are you? We'll jure, if faith.
Here they rob them and bind them. Enter the prince and Poins.
Thieves have found the true men. Now could thou and I rob the thieves and go merrily to London? It would be an argument for a week, laughter for a month, and a good jest forever.
Stand close. I hear them coming.
Come, my masters, let us share, and then to horse before day. And the prince and Poins be not two arrant cowards, there's no equity stirring. There's no more valor in that Poins than in a wild duck.
Your money!
Villains!
As they are sharing, the prince and Poins set upon them. They all run away, leaving the booty behind them.
Got with much ease. Now merrily to horse. The thieves are scattered and possessed with fear so strongly they dare not meet each other. Each takes his fellow for an officer. Away, good Ned. Falstaff sweats to death and lards the lean earth as he walks along. Were it not for laughing, I should pity him.
How the rogue roared.
But for mine own part, my lord, I could be well contented to be there in respect of the love I bear your house. He could be contented? Why is he not then in respect of the love he bears our house? He shows in this he loves his own bairn better than he loves our house. Let me see some more. The purpose you undertake is dangerous. Why, that's certain. 'Tis dangerous to take a cold, to sleep, to drink, but I tell you, my lord fool, out of this nettle, danger, we pluck this flower, safety. The purpose you undertake is dangerous, the friends you have named uncertain, the time itself unsorted, and your whole plot too light for the counterpoise of so great an opposition. Say you so. I say unto you again, you are a shallow, cowardly hind, and you lie. What a lack-brain is this? I protest our plot is as good as plot as ever was laid, our friend true and constant. A good plot, good friends, and full of expectation, an excellent plot, very good friends. What frosty spirited rogue is this? Why, my lord of York commends the plot, and the general course of the action. By this hand, if I were now by this rascal, I could brain him with his lady's fan. Is there not my father, my uncle, and myself, Lord Edmund Mortimer, my lord of York, and Owen Glendower? Is there not besides the Douglas? Have I not all their letters to meet me in arms by the 9th of the next month? And are they not some of them set forward already? What a pagan rascal is this, an infidel! Ha ha! You shall see how in very certainty of fear and cold heart will he to the king, and lay open all our proceedings. Oh, I could divide myself and go to buffets for moving such a dish of skimmed milk with so honorable an action. Hang him. Let him tell the king we're prepared. I will set forwards tonight. How now, Kate? I must leave you within these 2 hours.
Oh, my good lord, why thus alone? For what offence have I a fortnight been and vanished womans in my Harry's bed? Tell me, sweet lord, what is it that takes from thee thy stomach, pleasure, and thy golden sleep? Why dost thou bend thine eyes upon thy earth, and start so often that thou sit'st alone? why hast thou lost the fresh blood in thy cheeks, and given the treasures in my nights of thee? To think I nursing accursed melancholy? In my faint slumbers I by thee have watched, and heard thee murmur tales in iron wars, speak teams a manage of thy bounding steed, cry courage to the field. And thou hast talked of salads, of retires, trenches, tents, of palisadoes, frontiers, parapets, of basilicas, of cannon and culverin, of prisoners ransomed, and of soldiers slain. In all the current of heading fight, the spirit within thee hast been so at war, and thus hath so bestirred thee in thy sleep. Thy bed of sweat hath stood upon thy bow, like bubbles in late disturbed steam, and in thy face strange motions have appeared, such of sea when and ben strain their breath of some great solid so there hast. Oh, what portents are these? Some heavy business hath my lord in hand, and I must know it, else he loves me not.
What ho, is Gilliam's with the packet gone?
He is, my lord, an hour agone.
Hath Butler brought those horses for the sheriff?
One horse, my lord, he brought even now.
What horse? A roan? A crop-eared, is it not?
It is, my lord.
That roan shall be my throne. Well, I will back him straight. Esperance, did Butler lead him forth into the park?
But hear you, my lord.
What sayst thou, my lady?
Oh, what is it carries you away?
Why, my horse, my love, my horse.
Out, you mad-headed ape! The weasels hath not such a deal of spleen as you are tossed with. In sooth, ill know the business, Harry, that I fear my brother Mordred doth stir about the tale, and hath sent to you the little enterprise. But if you go,
So far afoot I shall be weary, love.
Come, you Paraquito, answer me directly unto my question, what I shall ask. Indeed, I'll break thy little finger, Harry, if thou wilt not tell me true.
Away, away, you little trifler. Love, I love thee not. I care not for thee, Kate. This is no world to play with mammets and tilt with lips. We must have bloody noses and cracked crowns, and pass them current too. God's me, my horse! What sayest thou, Kate? What wouldst thou have with me?
Do you not love me? Do you not indeed? Well, do not then. For since you love me not, I will not myself. Do you not love me? Nay, tell me if thou speakest in yets or no.
Come, wilt thou see me ride? And when I am a horseback, I will swear I love thee infinitely. But hark you, Kate, I must not have you henceforth question me, whether I go, nor reason whereabout. Whether I must, I must. And to conclude, this evening I must leave thee, gentle Kate. I know you wise, but yet no further wise than Harry Percy's wife. Constant you are, but yet a woman, and for secrecy no lady closer. For I will believe thou wilt not utter what thou dost not know. And so far wilt I trust thee, gentle Kate.
How so far?
Not an inch further, but hark you, Kate. Whither I go, thither shall you go too. Today will I set forth, tomorrow you. Would this content you, Kate?
It must of force.
Ned, Prithee come out of that fat room and lend me thy hand to laugh a little.
Where hast been? How?
With 3 or 4 loggerheads amongst 3 or 4 score hogsheads. I have sounded the very bass string of humility. Sirrah, I am sworn brother to a leash of drawers, and can call them by their names, as Tom, Dick, and Francis. They take it already upon their confidence that though I be but Prince of Wales, yet I am the king of courtesy, telling me flatly I am no proud jack like Falstaff, but a Corinthian, a lad of mettle, a good boy. And when I am king of England, I shall command all the good lads in Eastcheap. They call drinking deep dying scarlet. And when you breathe in your watering, then they cry hem and bid you play it off. To conclude, I am so good a proficient in 1/4 of an hour that I can drink with any tinker in his own language during my life. I tell thee, Ned, thou hast lost much honor that thou wert not with me in this action. But, sweet Ned, to sweeten which name of Ned, I give thee this pennyworth of sugar, clapped even now into my hand by an underskinker, one that never spake other English in his life than 8 shillings and 6 pence, and you are welcome, and with his shrill addition, anon, sir, score a pint of bastard in the half moon or so. But, Ned, to drive away time till Falstaff come, I pray thee do thou stand in some by-room, while I question my puny drawer, to what end he gave me the sugar, and do never leave calling Francis, that his tale to me may be nothing but anon. Step aside, I'll show thee a precedent.
Francis!
That was perfect.
Francis!
Anna, sir, look down on the pomegranate, Ralph.
Come hither, Francis.
Ah, my lord.
How long hast thou to serve, Francis?
Forsooth, 5 years, as much as 2.
Francis!
Anna, sir.
5 years. Fair lady, a long lease for the clinking of pewter. But, Francis, darest thou be so valiant as to play the coward with thy indenture, and show it a fair pair of heels and run from it?
Oh, Lord, sir, I'll be the sworn upon all the books in England. I could find my heart.
Francis!
Anna, sir.
How old art thou, Francis?
Let me see, about, Michaelmas next I shall be.
Francis!
Sir, pray you stay a little, my lord.
Nay, but hark ye, Francis, for the sugar thou gavest me, 'twas a pennyworth, was it not?
Oh, Lord, sir, I would it had been 2.
I will give thee for it 1,000 pound. Ask me when thou wilt, thou shalt have it.
Francis!
Anna.
Anon, Francis. No, Francis, but tomorrow, Francis. Or Francis on Thursday. Or indeed, Francis, when thou wilt. But, Francis.
Ah, my lord.
Wilt thou rob this leathern jerkin, crystal button, knot-pated agate ring, puke stocking, caddis garter, smooth-tongued Spanish pouch?
Lord, sir, what do you mean?
Why then, your brown bastard is your only drink. For look you, Francis, your white canis doublet will sully. In Barbary, sir, it cannot come to so much.
What, sir?
Francis! Away, you rogue! Dost not hear them call?
Here they both call him.
Francis!
The drawer stands amazed, not
Francis!
knowing which way to go.
What? Standst thou still, and here's such a calling? Get look to the guests within. My lord, old Sir John, with 6 more are at the door. Shall I let them in?
Let them alone a while, then open the door.
Coins.
Anon, sir.
Sirrah, Falstaff and the rest of the thieves are at the door. Shall we be merry?
As merry as crickets, my lad. But harkye, what cunning match have you made this just of the drawer? Come, what's the issue?
I am now of all humors, that have showed themselves humors since the old days of Goodman Adam, to serve the pupil age of this present 12 o'clock at midnight. What's o'clock, Francis?
Anon, sir.
That ever this fellow should have fewer words than a parrot, and yet the son of a woman. His industry is upstairs and downstairs, his eloquence the parcel of a reckoning. I am not yet of Percy's mind, the Hotspur of the North, that he that killed me some 6 or 7 dozen of Scots at breakfast washes his hands and says to his wife, fie upon this quiet life, I want work. Oh, my sweet Harry, says she, how many hast thou killed today? Give my roan horse a drench, says he, and answers, some 14 an hour after. A trifle, a trifle. I prithee call in Falstaff, I'll play Percy, and that Dan Brawn shall play Dame Mortimer, his wife. Revo, says the drunkard. Call in Ribs, call in Tallow.
Welcome, Jack. Where hast thou been?
Oh, a plague of all cowards, I say, and a vengeance too, Marion, amen. Oh, give me a cup of sack, boy. Ere I lead this life long, I'll sew nether socks and mend them too. Oh, a plague on all cowards, give me a cup of sack, rogue. Is there no virtue extant?
Didst thou never see a Titan kiss a dish of butter? Pitiful hearted Titan that melted at the sweet hail of the sun. If thou didst, then behold that compound.
You rogue. There's lime in this sack too. There is nothing but roguery to be found in villainous men. Yet a coward is worse than a cup of sack with lime. A villainous coward. Go thy ways, old Jack. Die when thou wilt, if manhood, good manhood, be not forgot upon the face of the earth. Then I am a shotten herring. There lives not 3 good men unhanged in England, and one of them is fat and grows old. God help the wild, a bad world, I would say. I would I were a weaver. I could sing all manner of songs. A plague on all cowards, I say still.
How now, Woolsack? What mutter you?
A king's son. If I do not beat thee out of thy kingdom with a dagger of lathe and drive all my subjects afore thee like a flock of wild geese, I'll never wear hair on my face more. You, Prince of Wales?
Why, you horse and round man, what's the matter?
Are you not a coward? Answer me to that in poems here.
You fat paunch. And you call me coward, I'll stab thee.
I call thee coward. I'll see thee damned ere I call thee coward, but I would give £1,000 I could run as fast as thou canst. You are straight enough in the shoulders, you care not who sees your back. Call you that backing of your friends a plague on such backing. Give me them that will face up. Give me a cup of sack. I am a rogue if I drunk today.
Oh, villain, thy lips are scarce wiped since thou drunkst last.
All's one for that. Plague on all cowards still, I say.
What's the matter?
What's the matter? Here be 4 of us have ta'en £1,000 this morning.
Where is it, Jack? Where is it?
Where is it? Taken from us it is. 100 upon poor 4 of us.
What? 100, man.
I am a rogue. If I were not at Hopsword with a dozen of them 2 hours together. I have escaped by miracle. I am 8 times thrust through the doublet, 4 through my hose, my buckler cut through and through, my sword hacked like a handsaw, ecercinum. I never dealt better since I was a man. All would not do. Oh, the plague of all cowards. Let them speak. If they speak more or less than truth, they are villains and the sons of darkness.
Speak, sirs. How was it?
We 4 set upon some dozen
16 at least, my lord.
and bound them.
Oh, no. They were not bound.
Oh, you rogue, they were bound. Every man of them. I am a Jew else, an Hebrew Jew.
As we were sharing, some 6 or 7 fresh men set upon us.
And unbound the rest, and then come in the other.
What? Fought you with them all?
All? I know not what you call all, but if I fought not with 50 of them, I am a bunch of radish. If there were not 2 or 3 and 50 upon poor old Jack, then I am no two-legged creature.
Pray
Pray
heaven ask
heaven
not
you
me.
have not murdered some of them.
Nay, that's past praying for. I have peppered 2 of them. 2 I am sure I have paid, 2 rogues in buckroom suits. I tell thee what, Hal, if I tell thee a lie, spit in my face, call me horse. Thou knowest my old word. Here I lay, and thus I bore my point. 4 rogues in buckroom let drive at me.
What for? Thou saidst but 2 even now.
4, Hal, I told thee 4.
Aye, aye. He said 4.
These 4 came all affront and mainly thrust at me. I made no more ado, but took all their 7 points and my target. Thus,
7. There were but 4
in buckram.
even now.
5, 4 in buckram suits.
7 by these sails, so I am villain else.
Prithee let him alone. We shall have more anon.
Dost thou hear me, Hal?
Aye, and mark thee too, Jack.
Do so, for it is worth listening to these 9 in buckroom that I told thee of,
Oh, so 2 more already.
their points being broken.
Down fell his hose.
Began to give me ground, but I followed me close, came in foot in hand, and with a thought, 7 of the 11 I paid.
Monstrous. 11 buckram men grown out of 2?
But as the devil would have it, 3 misbegotten knaves in Kendall green came at my back and let drive at me, for it was so dark, Hal, that thou couldst not see thy hand.
These lies are like the father that begets them, gross as a mountain, open, palpable. Why thou clay-brained cuss, thou naughty pated fool, thou whoreson, obscene, greasy tallow catch.
What? Art thou mad? Art thou mad? Is not the truth the truth?
Well, how couldst thou know these men in Kendall green, when it was so dark thou couldst not see thy hand? Come, tell us your reason. What sayst thou to this?
Come, your reason, Jack. Your reason.
What, upon compulsion? No. Were I at the Strappado or all the racks in the world, I would not tell you on compulsion. Give you a reason on compulsion? If reasons are as plenty as blackberries, I would give no man a reason upon compulsion,
I'll no longer be guilty of this sin. This sanguine coward, this bed presser, this horseback breaker, this huge hill of flesh.
Away, you starveling, you elf skin, you dried newt's tongue, bull's pistol, you stock fish. Oh, for breath you utter. What is like thee, you tailor's yard, you sheath of bow case, you vile standing tuck.
Well, breathe a while, and then to it again. And when thou hast tired thyself in base comparisons, hear me speak of this.
Mark Jack.
We too saw you 4 set on 4 and bound them, and were masters of their wealth. Mark now how a plain tale shall put you down. Then did we too set on you 4, and with a word outfaced you from your prize, and have it, yea, and can show it to you in the house. And, Falstaff, you carried your guts away as nimbly, with as quick dexterity, and roared for mercy, and still ran and roared as ever I heard bull calf. What a slave art thou, to hack thy sword as thou hast done, and then say it was in fight? What trick, what device, what starting hole canst thou now find out to hide thee from this open and apparent shame?
Come, let's hear, Jack. What trick hast thou now?
I know ye as well as he that made ye. Why, hear you, my masters, was it from me to kill the heir apparent? Shall I turn upon the true prince? Why, thou knowest I am as valiant as Hercules. But beware instinct, the lion will not touch the true prince. Instinct is a great matter. I was a coward on instinct. I shall think the better of myself and thee during my life. I for a valiant lion, and thou for a true prince. But lads, I am glad you have the money. Hostess, clap to the doors, watch tonight, pray tomorrow. Gallants, lads, boys, house of gold, all the good titles of fellowship come to you. What? Shall we be merry? Shall we have a play extempore?
Content. And the argument shall be thy running away.
Ah, no more of that, Hal. And thou lovest me.
My lord, the prince.
How now, my lady the hostess? What sayest thou to me?
Marry, my lord, there is a nobleman of the court at the door who would speak with you. He says he comes from your father.
Give him as much as will make him a royal man and send him back again to my mother.
What manner of man is he?
An old man.
What doth gravity out of his bed at midnight? Shall I give him his answer?
Prithee do, Jack.
Faith, and I'll send him packing.
Now, sirs, you fought fair. So did you, Peter, so did you, Bardolph. You are lions too, you ran away upon instinct. You will not touch the true prince, no, fie.
Hey, I ran when I saw the others run.
Tell me now in earnest, how came Falstaff's sword so hacked?
Why, he hacked it with the dagger. And he said he would swear out of England, but he would make thee believe he was done in fight and persuaded us to do the like.
Yea, and to tickle our noses with spear grass to make them bleed, and then to beslubber our garments with it, and swear it was the blood of true men. I did that. I did not this 7 years before. I blushed to hear his monstrous devices.
Oh, villain, thou stolest a cup of sack 18 years ago and wert taken with the manor, and ever since thou hast blushed extempore. Thou hadst fire and sword on thy side, and yet thou ranst away. What instinct hadst thou for it?
My lord, do you see these meteors? Do you behold these exhaltations?
I do.
What do you think? What think you they portend?
Ah, hot livers and cold purses.
Call her, my lord, if rightly taken.
No, if rightly taken, halter. Ah, here comes Jack. Here comes Barebone. How now, my sweet creature of bombast? How long is it ago, Jack, since thou sawest thine own knee?
My own knee. When I was about thy years, Hal, I was not an eagle's talent in the waist. I could have crept into any alderman's thumb ring. The plague of sighing and grief blows a man up like a bladder. There's a villainous news abroad. Here was Sir John Braby from your father. You must go to the court in the morning. The same mad fellow of the North, Percy, and he of Wales that gave Agamemnon the bastinado and made Lucifer cuckold and swore the devil his true liegeman upon a cross of Welsh brook. What a plague call you on him?
Oh, Glendower.
Owen the same, and his son-in-law Mortimer, and old Northumberland, and this sprightly Scot of Scots Douglas that runs a horseback up a hill perpendicular.
He that rides at high speed and with a pistol kills a sparrow flying.
You have hit it.
So did he never the sparrow.
Well, that rascal art thou then to praise him so for running?
What a rascal art thou then to praise him so for running?
A horseback, you cuckoo, but a foot they will not budge a foot.
Yes, Jack, upon instinct.
I grant you, upon instinct. Well, he is there too, and one more dake and 1,000 blue caps more Worcester is stolen away by night. Thy father's beard is turned white with the news you may buy land now as cheap as stinking mackerel.
And 'tis like if there has come a hot sun and this civil buffeting hold, we shall buy maidenheads as they buy hobnails, by the hundreds.
By the mass, lad, thou sayest true. It is like we shall have good trading that way. But tell me, Hal, art not thou horrible afeard? Thou being heir apparent, could the world pick thee out 3 times such enemies again as that fiend Douglas, that spirit Percy, and that devil Glendower? Art thou not horrible afraid? Doth not thy blood thrill at it?
Not a whit. I lack some of thy instinct.
Well, thou wilt be horrible chided tomorrow when thou comest to thy father. If thou do love me, practice an answer.
Do thou stand for my father, and examine me upon the particulars of my life.
Shall I? Content. This chair shall be my state, this dagger my scepter, and this cushion my crown.
Thy state is taken for a join stool, thy golden scepter for a leaden dagger, and thy precious rich crown for a pitiful bald crown.
Well, and the fire of grace be not quite out of thee, now shalt thou be moved. Give me a cup of sack to make mine eyes look red, that I might be thought I have wept. For I must speak in passion, and I will do it in King Cambus's vein.
Well, here is my leg.
And here is my speech. Stand aside, nobility.
This is excellent sport and faith.
Weep not, sweet queen, for trickling tears are vain.
Oh, the father, how he holds his countenance.
For God's sake, lords, convey my trustful queen, for tears do stop the floodgates of her eyes.
Oh, rare. He doth it like one of these harlotry players as ever I see.
Peace, good pint pot. Peace, good tickled brain. Harry, I do not only marvel where thou spendest thy time, but also how thou art accompanied. For though the chamomile, the more it is trodden, the faster it grows, yet youth, the more it is wasted, the sooner it wears. Thou art my son, and I have partly thy mother's word, partly my own opinion, but chiefly a villainous trick of thine eye, and a foolish hanging of thy nether lip that doth warrant me. If then thou be sung to me, here lieth the point. Why, being son to me, art thou so pointed at? Shall the blessed Son of Heaven prove a miker and eat blackberries? A question not to be asked. Shall the Son of England prove a thief and take purses? A question to be asked. There is a thing, Harry, which thou had often heard of, and it is known now to many in our land, the name of pitch. This pitch, as ancient writers do report, doth defile. So doth the company thou keepest. For Harry, now I do not speak to thee in drink, but in tears. Not in pleasure, but in passion. Not in words alone, but in woes also. And yet there is a virtuous man, whom I have often noted in thy company, but I know not his name.
What manner of man, and it like your majesty?
Oh, a goodly portly man in faith, and corpulent, and of a cheerful look, a pleasing eye, and a most noble carriage, and as I think his age some 50, or by a lady inclining to 80. And now I remember me. His name is Falstaff. Oh, if that man should be lewdly given, he deceives me. For Harry,
Oh,
I see virtue in his looks. By the tree. For Harry, now I dare speak to thee in drink, but in tears, no. Then peremptorily I speak it. There is virtue in that Falstaff. Keep him with, the rest banish. And tell me now, thou naughty varlet, tell me, where hast thou been this month?
Dost thou speak like a king? Do thou stand for me, I'll play my father.
Depose me? If thou doest talk so gravely, so majestically, both in word and manner, hang me by the heels for a rabbit's sucker or a poulter's hair.
Well, here I am set.
And here I stand. Judge, my masters.
Now, Harry, whence come you?
My noble lord, from East Cheap.
The complaints I hear of thee are grievous.
If faith, my lord, they are false, nay, I'll tickle you for a young prince.
Swearest thou, ungracious boy? Henceforth ne'er look on me. Thou art violently carried away from grace. There is a devil haunts thee in the likeness of a fat old man. A ton of man is thy companion. Why dost thou converse with that trunk of humors, that bolting hutch of beastliness, that swollen parcel of dropsies, that huge bombard of sack, that stuffed cloak bag of guts, that roasted Manningtree ox with the pudding in his belly, that reverend vice, that grey iniquity, that father ruffian, that vanity in years? Wherein is he good, but to taste sack and drink it? Wherein meat and cleanly, but to carve a capon and eat it? Wherein cunning, but in craft? Wherein crafty, but in villainy? Wherein villainous, but in all things? Wherein worthy, but in nothing?
I would your grace would take me with you. Whom means your grace?
That villainous, abominable misleader of youth, Falstaff, that old white-bearded Satan.
Oh, my lord, the man I know.
I know thou dost.
But to say I know more harm in him than in myself were to say more than I know. That he is old, the more the pity. His white hairs do witness it, but that he is, saving your reverence, a whoremaster, that I utterly deny. If sack and sugar be a fault, heaven help the wicked. If to be old and merry be a sin, then many an old host that I know is damned. If to be fat be to be hated, then Pharaoh's lean kin are to be loved. No, my good lord, banish Peter, banish Bardolph, banish Poins, but for sweet Jack Falstaff, kind Jack Falstaff, true Jack Falstaff, valiant Jack Falstaff. And therefore, more valiant, being as he is an old Jack Falstaff, banish him not in thy Harry's company, banish not him from Harry's company, banish plump Jack, and banish all the world.
I do. I will.
Oh, my lord, the sheriff with the most monstrous watch is at the door.
Out, you rogue. Play out the play. I have much to say in behalf of that Falstaff.
Oh, my lord, my lord.
Hey, the devil rides upon a fiddlestick. What's the matter?
The sheriff and all the watch are at the door. They're come to search the house. Shall I let them in?
Dost thou hear that, Hal? Never call a true piece of gold a counterfeit. Thou art essentially made without seeming so.
And thou a natural coward without instinct.
I deny you made. Deny the sheriff, so if not, let him enter. If I become not a cart as well as another man, a plague on my bringing up. I hope I shall as soon be strangled with a halter as another.
Go hide thee behind the arras. The rest walk up above. Now, my masters, for a true face and a good conscience.
Both which I have had. But their date is out, and therefore I'll hide me.
Call in the sheriff. Now, Master Sheriff, what is your will with me?
First, pardon me, lord. A hue and cry have followed certain men unto this house.
What men?
One of them is well known, my gracious lord, a gross, fat man. As fat as butter.
The man, I do assure you, is not here, for I myself at this time have employed him. And, Sheriff, I will engage my word to thee that I will by tomorrow dinner time send him to answer thee or any man for anything he shall be charged withal. And so let me entreat you leave the house.
I will, my lord. There are 2 gentlemen have in this robbery lost 300 marks.
It may be so. If he have robbed these men, he shall be answerable. And so farewell.
Good night, my noble lord.
I think it is good morrow, is it not?
Indeed, my lord. I think it be 2 o'clock.
This oily rascal is known as well as Poles. Go call him forth.
Falstaff? Fast asleep behind an arras and snoring like a horse.
Hark how he fetches breath. Search his pockets. What hast thou found?
Nothing but papers, my lord.
Let's see, what be they?
Oh, item Ecapon.
Read them.
Item Ecapon. 2S 2D. Item source 3D. Item sock 2 gallons. 5S 8D. Item anchovies and sack after supper 2S 6D. Item bread OB.
Monstrous. But 1/2 penny worth of bread to this intolerable deal of sack? What there is else, keep close. We'll read it at more advantage. There let him sleep till day. Out to the court in the morning. We must all to the wars. And thy place shall be honorable. I'll procure this fat rogue a charge of foot, and I know his death will be a march of 12 score. The money shall be paid back again with advantage. Be with me betimes in the morning. And so good morrow, Peter.
Good morrow, my lord.
These promises are fair, the party sure, and our induction full of prosperous hope.
Lord Mortimer and Custom Glendower, will you sit down? And Uncle Worcester, a plague upon it, I have forgot the map.
No, here it is. Sit, cousin Percy, sit, good cousin Hotspur, for by that name as oft as Lancaster does speak of you, his cheeks look pale, and with a rising sigh he wisheth you in heaven.
And you in hell, as oft as he hears Owen Glendower spoke of.
Oh, I cannot blame him. At my nativity, the font of heaven was full of fiery shapes, of burning cressets, and at my birth the frame and foundation of the earth shake like a coward.
Why, so it would have done at the same season if your mother's cat had but kittened, though yourself had never been born.
I say the earth did shake when I was born.
And I say the earth was not of my mind, if you suppose as fearing you it shook.
The heavens were all on fire. The earth did tremble.
Oh, then the earth shook, to see the heavens on fire, and not in fear of your nativity. Disease nature oftentimes breaks forth in strange eruptions, and the teeming earth is with a kind of colic pinched and vexed by the imprisoning of unruly wind within her womb, which for enlargement striving shakes the old beldam earth, and tumbles down steeples and moss-grown towers. At your birth, our grandam earth, having this distemperature, in passion shook.
Cousin, of many men I do not bear these cross ends. Give me leave to tell you once again that at my birth the front of heaven was full of fiery shapes. The goats ran from the mountains, and the herds were strangely clamorous to the frighted fields. These signs have marked me extraordinary, and all the courses of my life doth show I am not in the roll of common men. Where is the living clipped in with the sea that chides the banks of England, Scotland, and Wales, which calls me pupil or hath read to me? And bring him out, that is but woman's son can trace me in the tedious ways of art and hold me pace in deep experiments.
I think there's no man speaks better Welsh. Out to dinner.
Peace, Cousin Percy. You will make him mad.
I can call spirits from the vasty deep.
Why, so can I. Or so can any man, but will they come when you do call for them?
Why, I can teach thee, cousin, to command the devil.
And I can teach thee, cousin, to shame the devil by telling truth. Tell truth and shame the devil. If thou have the power to raise him, bring him hither, and I'll be sworn I have the power to shame him hence. While you live, tell truth and shame the devil.
Come, come. No more of this unprofitable chat.
3 times hath Henley Bolingbroke made head against my power. Thrice from the banks of Wye and sandy bottomed Severn have I sent him bootless home and weather beaten back.
Home without boots and in foul weather too. How scapes he agues in the devil's name?
Now come, here's the map. Shall we divide our right according to our threefold order, Jane?
The Archdeacon hath divided it into 3 limits very equally. England, from Trent and Severn hitherto, by south and east is my part assigned. All westward Wales, beyond the Severn shore, and all the fertile land within that bound, to Owen Glendower. And, dear cousin, you the remnant northward lying off from Trent, and our indentures tripartite are drawn, which being sealed interchangeably, a business that this night may execute. Tomorrow, cousin Percy, you and I, and my good lord of Worcester, will set forth to meet your father and the Scottish power as is appointed us at Shrewsbury. My father Glendower is not ready yet, nor shall we need his help these 14 days. Within that space you may have drawn together your tenants, friends, and neighbouring gentlemen.
A shorter time shall send me to you, lords, and in my conduct shall your ladies come, from whom you now must steal and take no leave, for there will be a world of water shed upon the parting of your wives and you.
Methinks my moiety north from Burton here in quantity equals not one of yours. See how this river comes me cranking in and cuts me from the best of all my land. A huge half moon, a monstrous cantalout. I'll have the current in this place dammed up, and here the smug and silver Trent shall run in a new channel, fair and evenly. It shall not wind with such deep indent to rob me of so rich a bottom here.
Not wind? It shall. It must. You see it doth.
Yea, but mark how he bears his course and runs me up with like advantage on the other side, gelding the opposed continent as much as on the other side it takes from you.
Yea, with a little charge we'll trench him here, and on this north side win this cape of land, and then he runs straight and even.
I'll have it so. A little charge will do it.
I'll not have it altered.
Will not you?
No, you shall not.
Who shall say me nay?
Why, that shall I.
Let me not understand you then. Speak it in Welsh.
I can speak English, lord, as well as you, for I was trained up in the English court, where being but young I framed to the harp many an English ditty lovely well, and gave the tongue a healthful ornament, a virtue that was never seen in you.
Marry, and I am glad of it with all my heart. I'd rather be a kitten and cry mew than one of these same meter ballad mongers. I'd rather hear a brazen candlestick turned or a dry wheel grate on the axle-tree, and that would set my teeth nothing on edge, nothing so much as mincing poetry. 'Tis like the forced gait of a shuffling nag.
Come, you shall have Trent turned.
Oh, I do not care. I'll give thrice so much land to any well-deserving friend, but in the way of bargain, mark ye me, I'll cavil on the 9th part of a hair. Are the indentures drawn? Shall we be gone?
The moon shines fair. You may away by night. I'll haste the writer, and withal break with your wives of your departure hence. I'm afraid my daughter will run mad. So much she dotes on her Mortimer.
Oh dear. Fie, cousin Percy, how you cross my father.
I cannot choose. Sometimes he angers me with telling me of the mold warp and the ant and the dreamer Merlin and his prophecies, and of a dragon and a finless fish, a clip-winged griffin and a molten raven, a crouching lion and a ramping cat, and such a deal of skimble-scamble stuff as puts me from my faith. I tell you what, he held me last night at least 9 hours in reckoning up the several devils, demons, that were his lackeys. I cry hum and well and go to, but marked him not a word. Always as tedious as a tired horse, a railing wife. Worse than a smoky house. I'd rather live with cheese and garlic in a windmill far than feed on cates and have him talk to me in a summer house in Christendom.
In faith, he was a worthy gentleman, exceedingly well read, and profited in strange concealments, valiant as a lion, and wondrous affable, and as bountiful as mines of India. Shall I tell you, cousin? He holds your temper in a high respect, and curbs himself, even of his natural scope, when you do cross his humor. In faith he does. I warrant you that man is not alive might so have tempted him as you have done, without the taste of danger and reproof. But do not use it off. Let me entreat you.
In faith, my lord, you are too willful blame, and since your coming hither have done enough to put him quite besides his patience. You must needs learn, Lord, to amend this fault, though sometimes it show greatness, courage, blood, and that's the dearest grace it renders you. Yet oftentimes it doth present harsh rage, defect of manners, want of government, pride, haughtiness, opinion, and disdain, the least of which haunting a nobleman loseth men's hearts and leaves behind a stain upon the beauty of all parts besides, beguiling them of commendation.
Well, I am schooled. Good manners be your speed. Here come your wives, and let us take our leave.
This is the deadly
This is a deadly spite that angers me. My wife can speak no English. I know Welsh.
My daughter weeps. She'll not part with you. She'll be a soldier too. She'll to the wars.
Good father, tell her that she and my aunt Percy shall follow in your conduct speedily.
Oh, she is desperate here. A peevish, self-willed harlotry, one that no persuasion can do good upon.
I understand thy looks, that pretty Welsh which thou powerest down from these swelling heavens, I am too perfect in, and but for shame in such a parley should I answer thee. I understand thy kisses, and thou mine, and that's a feeling disputation. But I will never be a truant, love, till I have learned thy language, for thy tongue makes Welsh as sweet as ditties highly penned, sung by a fair queen in a summer's bower, with ravishing division to her lute.
Nay, If thou melt, then she will run mad.
Oh, I am ignorance itself in this.
She bids you on the wanton rushes lay you down, and rest your gentle head upon her lap, and she will sing the song that pleaseth you, and on your eyelids crown the god of sleep, charming your blood with pleasing heaviness, making such difference twixt wake and sleep, as is the difference twixt day and night. The hour before the heavenly harness is teamed begins his golden progress in the east.
With all my heart, I'll sit and hear her sing. By that time will our book, I think, be drawn.
Do so, and these musicians that shall play to you hang in the air 1,000 leagues from thence, and straight they shall be here. Sit and attend.
Come, Kate, thou art perfect in lying down. Come, quick, quick, that I may lay my head in thy lap.
Oh, you giddy goose.
Now I perceive the devil understands Welsh, and 'tis no marvel he's so humorous. By our lady, he's a good musician.
That would be nothing but a musical, for you are altogether governed by rumors. Lie still, you thief, and hear the ladies sing in Welsh.
I had rather hear, lady, my Brock howl in Irish.
Wouldst have thy head broken?
No,
Then be still.
neither. 'Tis a woman's fault.
Now God help thee.
To the Welsh lady's bed.
What's that?
Peace, she sings. Come, I'll have your song too.
Not mine. In good sooth.
Not yours, in good sooth. You swear like a comfit maker's wife. Not you, in good sooth, and as true as I live, and as God shall bend me, and sure a day, and givest such sarcet surety for thy oaths, as if thou never walk'st further than Finsbury. Swear me, Kate, like a lady as thou art, a good mouth-filling oath, and leave in sooth, and such protest of pepper gingerbread to velvet guards and Sunday citizens. Come, sing.
I will not sing.
Is the next way to turn tailor or be a redbreast teacher, the indentures be drawn. I'll away within these 2 hours, and so come in when ye will.
Come, come, Lord Mortimer, you are as slow as hot Lord Percy is on fire to go. By this book is drawn, we'll but seal and then to horse immediately.
With all my heart.
Lords, give us leave. The Prince of Wales and I must have some private conference. But be near at hand, for we shall presently have need of you. I know not whether heaven will have it so, for some displeasing service I have done, that in his secret doom out of my blood he'll breed revengement and a scourge for me. But thou dost in thy passages of life make me believe that thou art only marked for the hot vengeance and the rod of heaven to punish my mistreadings. Tell me else, could such inordinate and low desire, such poor, such bare, such lewd, such mean attempts, such barren pleasures, rude society, as thou art matched withal and grafted to, accompany the greatness of thy blood, and hold their level with thy princely heart?
So please your majesty, I would I could quit all offences with as clear excuse, as well as I am doubtless, I can purge myself of many I am charged withal. Yet such extenuation let me beg, as in reproof of many tales devised, which oft the ear of greatness needs must hear, by smiling pick-thanks and base newsmongers. I may for some things true, wherein my youth hath faultly wandered, and irregular, find pardon on my true submission.
Heaven pardon thee. Yet let me wonder, Harry, at thy affections, which do hold a wing quite from the flight of all thy ancestors. My place in council thou hast rudely lost, which by thy younger brother is supplied, and art almost an alien to the hearts of all the court and princes of my blood. The hope and expectation of thy time is ruined, and the soul of every man prophetically do forethink thy fall. That I so lavish of my presence been, so common hackneyed in the eyes of men, so stale and cheap to vulgar company, opinion that did help me to the crown had still kept loyal to possession, and left me in reputeless banishment, a fellow of no mark nor likelihood. By being seldom seen, I could not stir, but like a comet I was wondered at, that men would tell their children, this is he. Others would say, where, which is Bolingbroke? And then I stole all courtesy from heaven and dressed myself in such humility that I did pluck allegiance from men's hearts, loud shouts and salutations from their mouths, even in the presence of the crowned king. Thus did I keep my person fresh and new, my presence like a robe pontifical, ne'er seen but wondered at, and so my state, seldom but sumptuous, showed like a feast, and won by rareness such solemnity. The skipping king, he ambled up and down with shallow jesters and rash bavin wits, soon kindled and soon burnt, carded his state, mingled his royalty with carping fools, had his great name profaned with their scorns, and gave his countenance against his name to laugh at gibing boys and stand the push of every beardless vain comparative, grew a companion to the common streets, and fiefed himself to popularity, that being daily swallowed by men's eyes, they surfeited with honey, and began to loathe the taste of sweetness, whereof a little more than a little is by much too much. So when he had occasion to be seen, he was but as the cuckoo is in June, heard, not regarded, seen but with such eyes as sick and blunted with community, afford no extraordinary gaze, such as is bent on sunlike majesty when it shines, seldom in admiring eyes, but rather drowsed, and hung their eyelids down, slept in his face, and rendered such aspect as cloudy men used to do to their adversaries, being with his presence glutted, gorged, and full. And in that very line, Harry, standest thou, for thou hast lost thy princely privilege with vile participation. Not an eye but is aweary of thy common sight, save mine, which hath desired to see thee more, which now doth that I would not have it do, make blind itself with foolish tenderness.
I shall hereafter, my thrice gracious lord, be more myself.
For all the world as thou art to this hour was Richard then, when I from France set foot at Ravensburg, and even as I was then is piercing now. Now by my sceptre and my soul to boot, he hath more worthy interest to the state than thou, the shadow of succession. For of no right nor colour like to right, he doth fill fields with harness in the realm, turns head against the lion's armored jaws, and being no more in debt to years than thou, leads ancient lords and reverend bishops on to bloody battles and to bruising arms. What never dying honour hath he got against renowned Douglas, whose high deeds, whose hot incursions and great name in arms holds from all soldiers chief majority and military title capital, through all the kingdoms that acknowledge Christ. Thrice hath the Hotspur Mars and swaddling clothes, this infant warrior in his enterprises, discomfited great Douglas, ta'en him once, enlarged him, and made a friend of him, to fill the mouth of deep defiance up, and shake the peace and safety of our throne. And what say you to this? Piercy, Northumberland, the Archbishop's Grace of York, Douglas, Mortimer, capitulate against us, and are up. But wherefore do I tell these news to thee? Why, Harry, do I tell thee of my foes, which art my nearest and dearest enemy? thou that art like enough through vassal fear, base inclination, and the start of spleen, to fight against me under Percy's pay, to dog his heels and curtsy at his frowns, to show how much thou art degenerate.
Do not think so. You shall not find it so. And heaven forgive them that have so much have swayed your majesty's good thoughts away from me. I will redeem all this on Percy's head. In the closing of some glorious day, be bold to tell you that I am your son, when I will wear a garment all of blood and stain my favors in a bloody mask, which washed away shall scour my shame with it. And that shall be the day, whene'er it lights, that this same child of honor and renown, this gallant Hotspur, this all-praised knight, and your unthought of Harry chance to meet. For every honor sitting on his helm, would they were multitudes, and on my head my shames redoubled, for the time will come that I shall make this northern youth exchange his glorious deeds for my indignities. Percy is but a factor, good my lord, to engross up glorious deeds on my behalf, and I will call him to so strict an account that he shall render every glory up, yea, even the slightest worship of his time, or I will tear the reckoning from his heart. This in the name of heaven I promise thee, which, if I perform, and do survive, I do beseech your majesty may salve the long-grown wounds of my intemperature. If not, the end of life cancels all bans, and I will die 100,000 deaths ere break the smallest parcel of this vow.
100,000 rebels die in this. Thou dost have charge and sovereign trust herein. How now, good Blunt, thy looks are full of speed.
So hath the business that I come to speak of. Lord Mortimer of Scotland hath sent word that Douglas and the English rebels met the 11th of this month at Shrewsbury. A mighty and a fearful head they are, if promises be kept on every hand, as ever offered foul play in a state.
The Earl of Westmoreland set forth today, with him my son, Lord John of Lancaster, for this advertisement is 5 days old. On Wednesday next, Harry, thou shalt set forward. On Thursday, we ourselves will march. Our meeting is Bridgenorth, and Harry, you shall march through Gloucestershire, by which account our business valued some 12 days hence. Our general forces at Bridgenorth shall meet. Our hands are full of business. Let's away. Advantage feeds him fat while men delay.
Bardolph, am I not fallen away vilely since this last action? Do I not bate? Do I not dwindle? Why, my skin hangs about me like an old lady's loose gown. I am withered like an old apple john. Well, I'll repent, and that suddenly, while I am in some liking. I shall be out of heart shortly. And then I shall have no strength to repent. And I have not forgotten what the inside of a church is made of. I am a peppercorn, a brewer's horse, the inside of a church. Company, villainous company, hath been the spoil of me.
Oh, Sir John, you are so fretful. You cannot live long.
Why, there is it. Come, sing me a bawdy song, make me merry. I was as virtuously given as a gentleman need to be. Virtuous enough, swore little, diced not above 7 times a week, went to a bawdy house not once in a quarter of an hour, paid money that I borrowed 3 or 4 times, lived well and in good compass. And now I live out of all order, out of compass.
Why, you are so fat, Sir John, that you must needs be out of all compass, out all reasonable compass, Sir John.
Do thou amend thy face, and I'll amend thy life. Thou art our admiral. Thou bearest the lantern in the Pope, but 'tis the nose of thee. Thou art the knight of the burning lamp.
Why, Sir John, my face does you no harm.
No, I'll be sworn I make as good use of it as many a man doth of a death's head or a memento mori. I never see thy face, but I think upon hellfire and divers that live in purple. For there he is in his robes, burning, burning. If thou wert any way given to virtue, I would swear by thy face. My oath should be, by this fire. But thou art altogether given over, and wert indeed, but for the light in thy face, the son of utter darkness. When thou ranst up Gadshill in the night to catch my horse, if I did not think that thou hast been an ignis fatuus or a ball of wildfowl, there's no purchase in money. Oh, thou art a perpetual triumph, an everlasting bonfire light. Thou hast saved me 1,000 marks in links and torches, walking with thee in the night between tavern and tavern. But the sack is that thou hast drunk me, would have bought me lights as good cheap as the dearest chandlers in Europe. I have maintained that salamander of yours with fire anytime this 32 years. Heaven reward me for it.
I would my face were in your belly.
So should I be sure to be heartburned. How now, Dame Partlet the hen? Have you not inquired yet who picked my pocket?
Why, Sir John, what do you think, Sir John? Do you think I keep thieves in my house? I've searched, I've inquired, so has my husband, man by man, boy by boy, servant by servant. The tide of the hair was never lost in my house before.
You lie, hostess. Bardolph was shaved and lost many a hair, and I'll be sworn my pocket was picked. Go to, you are a woman. Go.
Who, I? I defy thee. I was never called so in my own house before.
Go to, I know you well enough.
No, Sir John, you do not know me, Sir John. I know you, Sir John. You owe me money, Sir John, and now you pick a quarrel to beguile me of it. I bought you a dozen of shirts to your back.
Dullas, filthy Dullas, I have given them away to bakers' wives, and they have made bolters of them.
Now, as I am a true woman, Holland of 8 shillings an ell. You owe money here besides, Sir John, for your diet and by drinkings, and money lent you 24 pounds.
He had his part of it, let him pay.
He, alas, he's poor, he has no thing.
How poor? Look upon his face. What call you rich? Let them coin his nose. Let them coin his cheeks. I'll not pay a denier. What, will you make a yunker of me? Shall I not take my knees in my inn, but I shall have my pocket picked? I have lost a seal ring of my grandfather's worth 40 mark.
I have heard the prince tell him, I know not how oft, that ring was copper.
Ha! The prince is a jack, a sneak cup. And if he were here, I would cudgel him like a dog if he would say so.
Enter the prince marching, and Falstaff meets him playing on his truncheon like a fife.
How now, lad? Is the wind in that door? Must we all march?
Yea, 2 and 2, Newgate fashion.
My lord, I pray you hear me.
What sayest thou, Mistress Quickly? How does thy husband? I love him well, he is an honest man.
Good my lord, hear me.
Prithee, let her alone and list to me.
What sayest thou, Jack?
The other night, I fell asleep here behind the arras and had my pocket picked. This house is turned bawdy house. They pick pockets.
Thou lose, Jack.
Wilt thou believe me, Hal? 3 or 4 bonds of 40 pound apiece and a seal ring of my grandfather's.
Trifle, some 8-penny matter.
So I told him, my lord, and I said, I heard your grace say so, and my lord, he speaks most vilely of you, like a foul-mouthed man as he is, and said he would cudgel you.
What he did not.
There's neither faith, truth, nor womanhood in me else.
There's no more faith in thee than an astute prune. No more truth in thee than a drawn fox. And for womanhood, May marry and may be the deputy's wife of the ward to thee. Go you nothing. Go.
Say, what thing? What thing?
What thing? Why, a thing to thank heaven on.
I'm no thing to thank heaven on. I would thou shouldst know it. I'm an honest man's wife, and setting thy knighthood aside, thou art a knave to call me so.
Setting thy womanhood aside, thou art a beast to say otherwise.
Say, what beast, thou knave, thou?
What beast? Why, an otter.
An otter, Sir John. Why an otter?
Why? She's neither fish nor flesh. A man knows not where to have her.
Thou art unjust man in saying so. Thou or any man knows where to have me, thou knave, thou.
And thus is true, hostess, and he slanders thee most grossly.
So he doth you, my lord, and said this other day you owed him £1,000.
Sarah, do I owe you £1,000?
£1,000, Hal? 1,000,000. Thy love is worth 1,000,000. Thou owest me thy love.
Nay, my lord, he called you Jack and said he would cudgel you.
Did I, Bardolph?
Indeed, Sir John, you said so.
Yeah, if he said my ring was copper.
I say 'tis copper. Durst thou be as good as thy word now?
Why, how? Thou knowest as thou art a man, I dare, but as thou art a prince, I fear thee, and I fear the roaring of the lion's whelp.
And why not as the lion?
The king himself is to be feared as the lion. Dost thou think I'll fear thee as I fear thy father? Nay, if I do, let my girdle break.
Oh, if it should, how would thy guts fall about thy knees? But Sarah, there's no room for faith, truth, nor honesty in this bosom of thine. It is all filled up with guts and midriff. Charge an honest woman with picking thy pocket. Why, thou whoreson, impudent, imbust rascal, if there were anything in thy pocket but tavern reckonings, memorandums of bawdy houses, and one poor pennyworth of sugar candy to make thee long-winded. If thy pocket were enriched with any other injuries but these, I am a villain. And yet you will not stand to it. You will not pocket up wrong. Art thou not ashamed?
Dost thou hear, Hal? Thou knowest in the state of innocency Adam fell. And what should poor Jack Falstaff do in the days of villainy? Thou seest I have more flesh than another man, and therefore more frailty. You confess that you picked my pocket.
It appears so, by the story.
Hostess, I forgive thee. Go make ready breakfast, love thy husband, look to thy servants, and cherish thy guests. Thou shalt find me tractable to any honest reason. Thou seest, I am pacified still. Now, I pray thee, be gone. Now, Hal, to the news at court for the robbery, lad, how is that answered?
Ah, my sweet beef, I must still be good angel to thee. The money is paid back again.
Oh, I do not like that paying back. 'Tis a double labor.
I am good friends with my father, and may do anything.
Rob me the exchequer the first thing thou dost, and do it with unwashed hands, too.
Do, my lord.
I have procured thee, Jack, a charge of foot.
I would had been a horse. I would had been a horse. Where shall I find one that I can steal well? Oh, for a fine thief of 22 or thereabout, I am heinously unprovided. Well, God be thanked for these rebels. They offend none but the virtuous. I laud them. I praise them.
Bardolph,
My lord.
go bear this letter to Lord John of Lancaster, to my brother John. This to my Lord of Westmoreland. Go, Peto, to horse, for thou and I have 30 miles to ride yet ere dinner time. Jack, meet me tomorrow in the Temple Hall at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There shalt thou know thy charge, and there receive money and order for thy furniture. The land is burning. Percy stands on high, and either they or we must lower lie.
Rare words, brave world. Hostess, my breakfast come. Oh, I wish this tavern were my drum.
Well said, my noble Scot. If speaking truth in this fine age were not the thought flattery, such attribution should the Douglas have, as not a soldier of this season's stamp should go so general current through the world. By heaven, I cannot flatter. I defy the tongues of soothers, but a braver place in my heart's love hath no man than yourself. Now task me to my word. Approve me, Lord.
Thou art the king of honour. No man so potent breathes upon the ground, but I will beard him.
Do so, and 'tis well. What letters hast here? I can but thank you.
These letters, sir, come from your father.
Letters from him? Why comes he not himself?
He cannot come, my lord. He is grievous sick.
How has he the leisure to be sick now? In such a justling time, who leads his power? Under whose government come they along?
His letters bear his mind, not I his mind.
I prithee tell me, doth he keep his bed?
He did, my lord, 4 days ere I set forth, and at the time of my departure thence he was much feared by his physician.
I would the state of time had first been whole, ere he by sickness had been visited. His health was never better worth than now.
Sick now? Droop now? This sickness doth infect the very lifeblood of our enterprise. 'Tis catching hither even to our camp. He writes me here that inward sickness, and that his friends by deputation could not so soon be drawn, nor did he think it meet to lay so dangerous and dear a trust on any soul removed but on his own. Yet doth he give us bold advertisement that our own small conjunction we should all, to see how fortune is disposed to us. For as he writes, there is no quailing now, because the king is certainly possessed of all our purposes. What say you to it?
Your father's sickness is a maim to us.
A perilous gash, a very limb lopped off. And yet in faith it is not his present want seems more when we shall find it. Were it good to set the exact wealth of all our states all in one cast, to set so rich a main on the nice hazard of one doubtful hour. Oh, it were not good, for therein should we read the very bottom and the soul of hope, the very list, the very utmost bound of all our fortunes.
Faith, and so we should. Where now remains a sweet reversion, we may boldly spend upon the hope of what is to come in. A comfort of retirement lives in us.
A rendezvous, a home to fly unto, if that the devil and mischance look big upon the maidenhead of our affairs.
But yet I would your father had been here. The quality and air of our attempt brooks no division. It will be thought by some that know not why he is away, that wisdom, loyalty, and mere dislike of our proceedings kept the earl from hence. And think how such an apprehension may turn the tide of fearful faction and breed a kind of question in our cause. For well you know, we of the offering side must keep aloof from strict arbitrament and stop all sight holes, every loop from whence the eye of reason may pry in upon us. This absence of your father draws a curtain that shows the ignorant a kind of fear before not dreamed of.
You strain too far. I rather of his absence make this use. It lends a lustre and more great opinion, a larger dare to your great enterprise, than if the earl were here, for men must think if we without his help can to make a head to push against the kingdom, with his help we shall o'erturn it topsy-turvy down. Yet all goes well, yet all our joints are whole.
As heart can think, there is not such a word spoke of in Scotland as this dream of fear.
My cousin Vernon, welcome to my soul.
Pray God my news be worth a welcome, lord. The Earl of Westmoreland, 7,000 strong, is marching hitherwards with Prince John.
No harm. What more?
And further, I have learned the king himself in person hath set forth, or hitherwards intended speedily with strong and mighty preparation.
He shall be welcome too. Where is his son, the nimble-footed madcap Prince of Wales, and his comrades that daft the world aside and bid it pass?
All furnished, all in arms, all plumed like estridges, that with the wind baited like eagles, having lately bathed, glittering in golden coats, like images as full of spirit as the month of May, and gorgeous as the sun at midsummer, wanton as youthful goats, wild as young bulls. I saw young Harry, with his beaver on, his cushions on his thighs, gallantly armed, rise from the ground like feathered Mercury, and vaulted with such ease into his seat, as if an angel dropped down from the clouds to turn and wind a fiery Pegasus, and witch the world with noble horsemanship.
No more, no more. Worse than the sun in March, this praise doth nourish agues. Let them come. They come like sacrifices in their trim, and to the fiery-eyed maid of smoky war, all hot and bleeding, will we offer them. The mailed Mars shall on his altar sit, up to the ears in blood. I am on fire to hear this rich reprisal is so nigh. And yet not ours. Come, let me take my horse. Who is to bear me like a thunderbolt against the bosom of the Prince of Wales? Harry to Harry shall not horse to horse meet, and ne'er part till one drop down a course. Oh, that Glendower were here.
Ah, there is more news. I learned in Worcester as I rode along, he cannot draw his power this 14 days.
That is the worst tidings that I hear of yet.
Aye, by my faith, that bears a frosty sound.
What may the king's whole battle reach unto?
To 30,000.
40 let it be. My father and Glendower being both away, the powers of us may serve so great a day. Come, let us take a muster speedily. Doomsday is near. Die all, die merrily.
Talk not of dying. I am out of fear of death or death's hand for this 1/2 year.
Enter Falstaff and Bardo. What
thou there, Sir John?
Bardolph, get thee before to Coventry. Fill me a bottle of sack. Our soldiers shall march through. We'll to Satin Cop Hill tonight.
Will you give me money, Captain?
Lay out, lay out.
This bottle makes me an angel.
And if it do, take it for thy labor. And if it make 20, take them all. I'll answer the coinage. But my Lieutenant Peto meet me at the town's end.
I will, Captain. Farewell.
If I be not ashamed of my soldiers, I am a soused gurnet. I have misused the king's press damnably. I have got, in exchange of 150 soldiers, 300 and odd pounds. I press me none but good householders, yeomen's sons. Inquire me out contracted bachelors, such as had been asked twice on the banes, such a commodity of warm slaves as had a leave here the devil, as a drum, such as fear the report of a caliver worse than a struck fool, or a hurt wild duck. I press me none but toast and butter, with hearts in their bellies no bigger than pin set, and they have bought out their services. And now my whole charge consists of ancients, corporals, lieutenants, gentlemen of the companies, slaves as ragged as Lazarus in the painted cloth, where glutton's dogs licked his sores, and such as indeed were never soldiers, but discarded and unjust serving men, younger sons to younger brothers, revolted tapsters and oistlers, trade fallen, the cankers of a calm world, and long peace 10 times more dishonorable ragged than an old-faced ancient. And such I have to fill up the rooms of them that have bought out their services, that you would think that I had 150 totted prodigals lately come from swine keeping, from eating draff and husks. A mad fellow met me on the way and told me I had unloaded all the gibbets and pressed the dead bodies. No, I had seen such scarecrows. I'll not march through Coventry with them, that's flat. Nay, and the villains march wide betwixt the legs as if they had gibas on. And indeed, I had the most of them out of prison. There's not a shirt and a half in all my company. And that half shirt is 2 napkins tacked together and thrown over the shoulders like a herald's coat without sleeves. And the shirt, to say the truth, stolen from my host of St. Albans or the red-nosed innkeeper of Daventry. But that's all one. They'll find linen enough on every hedge.
How now, blown Jack? How now, Quilt?
What, Hal? How now, mad dog? What a devil dost thou in Warwickshire? My good lord of Westmoreland, I cry you mercy. I thought our honor had already been at Shrewsbury.
Nay, Sir John, 'tis more than time that I were there, and you too. But my powers are there already. The king, I can tell you, looks for us all. We must away all tonight.
Tut, never fear me. I am as vigilant as a cat to steal cream.
I think to steal cream indeed, for thy theft hath already made thee butter. But tell me, Jack, whose fellows are these that come after?
Mine, Hal, mine.
I never did see such pitiful rascals.
Tut, good enough to toss. Food for powder, food for powder. They'll fill a pit as well as better. Tush men, mortal men, mortal men.
Aye, but Sir John, methinks they are exceedingly poor and bare, too beggarly.
Faith, for their poverty, I know not where they had that. And for their baseness, I am sure they never learned that of me.
No, I'll be sworn, unless you call 3 fingers on the ribs bare. But Sarah, make haste. Percy's already in the field.
What, is the king encamped?
Here he is, Sir John. I fear we shall stay too long.
Well, to the latter end of Friday and the beginning of a feast fits a dull fighter and a keen ghost.
We'll fight with them tonight.
It may not be.
You give him, then, advantage?
Not a whit.
I say you so. Looks he not for supply?
Well, so do we.
His is certain, ours is doubtful.
Good cousin, be advised, stir not tonight.
Do not, my lord.
You do not counsel well. You speak it out of fear and cold heart.
Do me no slander, Douglas. By my life, and I dare well maintain it with my life, if well-respected honor bid me on, I hold as little counsel with weak fear as you, my lord, or any Scot that this day lives. Let it be seen tomorrow in the battle which of us fears.
Yea, or tonight.
Content.
Tonight, I say.
Come, come, it may not be. I wonder much, being of such great leading as you are, that you foresee not what impediments drag back our expedition. Certain horse of my cousin Vernon's are not yet come up. Your uncle Worcester's horse came but today, and now their pride and mettle is asleep, their courage with hard labor tame and dull. That not a horse is half the half of himself.
So are the horses of the enemy. In general journey baited and brought low, the better part of ours are full of rest.
The number of the king exceedeth ours. For God's sake, cousin, stay till all come in.
The trumpet sounds a parley. Enter Sir Walter Blunt. I come with gracious offers from the king, if you vouchsafe me hearing and respect.
Welcome, Sir Walter Blunt, and would to God you were of our determination. Some of us love you well, and even those some envy your great deservings and good name, because you are not of our quality, but stand against us like an enemy.
And heaven defend, but still I should stand so long as out of limit and true rule you stand against anointed majesty. But to my charge. The king hath sent to know the nature of your griefs, and whereupon you conjure from the breast of civil peace such bold hostility, teaching his duteous land audacious cruelty. If that the king has any way your good deserts forgot, which he confesseth to be manifold, he bids you name your griefs, and with all speed you shall have your desires with interest and pardon absolute for yourself and these, herein misled by your suggestion.
The king is kind, and well we know the king knows at what time to promise, when to pay. My father, my uncle, and myself did give him that same royalty he wears, and when he was not 26 strong, sick in the world's regard, wretched and low, a poor unminded outlaw sneaking home. My father gave him welcome to the shore, and when he heard him swear and vow to God, he came but to be Duke of Lancaster, to sue his livery and beg his peace, with tears of innocence and terms of zeal. My father in kind heart and pity moved swore him assistance, and performed it too. Now when the lords and barons of the realm perceived Northumberland did lean to him, the more and less came in with cap and knee, met him in boroughs, cities, villages, attended to him on bridges, stood in lanes, laid gifts before him, proffered him their oaths, gave him their heirs as pages, followed him. Even at the heels in golden multitudes, he presently, as greatness knows itself, stepped me a little higher when his vow made to my father, while his blood was poor upon the naked shore at Ravensburg, and now, forsooth, takes on him to reform some certain edicts and some strait decrees that lay too heavy on the commonwealth, cries out upon abuses, seems to weep over his country's wrongs, and by his face, this seeming brow of justice, did he win the hearts of all that he did angle for. Proceed further, cut me off the heads of all the favorites that the absent king in deputation left behind him here, when he was personal in the Irish war.
Tut, I came not to hear this.
Then to the point. In short time after he deposed the king, soon after that deprived him of his life, and in the neck of that tasked the whole state to make that worse, suffered his kinsman March, who, if every owner were placed indeed his king, to be engaged in Wales, there without ransom to lie forfeited, disgraced me in my happy victories, sought to entrap me by intelligence, rated my uncle from the council board, enraged dismissed my father from the court, broke oath on oath, committed wrong on wrong, and in conclusion drove us to seek out this head of safety, and withal to pry into his title, the which we find too indirect for long continuance.
Shall I return this answer to the king?
Not so, Sir Walter. We'll withdraw a while, go to the king, and let there be pawned some surety for a safe return again. In the morning early shall my uncle bring him our purpose, and so farewell.
I would accept of grace and love.
And may be, so we shall.
Pray heaven you do. Enter the Archbishop of York, Scroop, and Sir Michel. Kitty, you're the Archbishop.
I am?
Yeah, Archbishop of York.
Hi, good Sir Michael. Bear this sealed brief with winged haste to the Lord Marshal. This to my cousin Scroop and all the rest to whom they are directed. If you knew how much they do import, you would make haste.
My good lord, I guess their tenor.
Like enough you do. Tomorrow, good Sir Michael, is a day wherein the fortune of 10,000 men must bide the touch. For, sir, at Shrewsbury, as I am truly given to understand, the king with mighty and quick raised power meets with Lord Harry. And I fear, Sir Michael, that with the sickness of Northumberland, whose power was in the first proportion, and what with Owen Glendower's absence thence, who with them was rated firmly too, and comes not in, overruled by prophecies, I fear the power of Percy is too weak to wage an instant trial with the king.
Why, my good lord, you need not fear. There's Douglas and Lord Mortimer.
Oh, Mortimer is not there.
Oh, but there is Mordrake, Vernon, Lord Harry Piercy, and there's my Lord of Worcester, and a head of gallant warriors, noble gentlemen.
And so there is, but yet the king hath drawn the special head of all the land together, the Prince of Wales, Lord John of Lancaster, the noble Westmoreland, and warlike Blunt, and many more co-rivals and dear men of estimation and command in arms.
Doubt not, my lord, he shall be well opposed.
I hope no less. Yet fear needful 'tis to fear, and to prevent the worst, Sir Michael, speed. For if Lord Percy thrive not ere the king dismisses power, he means to visit us. For he hath heard of our confederacy, and 'tis but wisdom to make strong against him. Therefore make haste. I must go right again to other friends. And so farewell, Sir Michael.
Enter the King, Prince of Wales, Lord John of Lancaster, Earl of Westmoreland, Sir Walter Blunt, and Falstaff.
How bloodily the sun begins to peer above yon bosky hill. The day looks pale at his distemperature.
Southern wind doth play the trumpet to his purpose. By his hollow whistling in the leaves foretells a tempest and a blustering day.
Then with the losers let it sympathize, for nothing can seem foul to those that win.
The trumpet sounds. Enter Worcester.
How now, my Lord of Worcester? 'Tis not well that you and I should meet upon such terms as now we meet. You have deceived our trust and made us doff our easy robes of peace, to crush our old limbs in ungentle steel. This is not well, my lord. This is not well. What say you to it? Will you again unknit the churlish knot of all abhorred war, and move in that obedient top again where you did give a fair and natural light, and be no more an exhaled meteor,
A prodigy of fear and a portent of a broached mischief to the unborn times.
Hear me, my liege. For mine own part, I could be well content to entertain the lag end of my life with quiet hours. For I do protest, I have not sought the day of this dislike.
You have not sought it. How comes it then? How comes it then?
Oops, rebellion lay in his way and he found it.
Peace, peace.
It pleased your majesty to turn your looks of favor from myself and all our house. And yet I must remember you, my lord, we were the first and dearest of your friends. For you, my staff of office did I break in Richard's time, and posted day and night to meet you on the way and kiss your hand, when yet you were in place. and in account nothing so strong and fortunate as I. It was myself, my brother and his son, that brought you home and boldly did outdare the danger of the time. You swore to us, and you did swear that oath at Doncaster, that you did nothing of purpose against the state, nor claim no further than your new-fallen right, the seat of Gaunt, dukedom of Lancaster. To this we swear our aid. But in short space it rained down fortune showering on your head, with such a flood of greatness fell on you, what with our help, what with the absent king, what with the injuries of wanton time, the seeming sufferances that you had borne, and the contrarious winds that held the king so long in the unlucky Irish wars, that all in England did repute him dead. And from this swarm of fair advantages, you took occasion to be quickly wooed, to grip the general sway into your hand, forgot your oath to us at Doncaster, and being fed of us, you used us so as that ungentle gull, the cuckoo's bird, useth the sparrow. Did oppress our nest, grew by our feeding to so great a bulk that even our love durst not come near your sight for fear of swallowing. But with nimble wing, we were enforced for safety's sake to fly out of your sight and raise this present head, whereby we stand opposed by such means as you yourself have forged against yourself, by unkind usage, dangerous countenance, and violation of all faith and troth sworn to us in younger enterprise.
These things indeed you have articulated, proclaimed at market crosses, read in churches, to face the garment of rebellion with some fine color that may please the eye of fickle changelings and poor discontents, which gape and rub the elbow at the news of hurly-burly innovation, and never yet did insurrection want such watercolors to impaint his cause, nor moody beggars starving for a time of pell-mell havoc and confusion. Prince?
Both our armies, there's many a soul shall pay full dearly for this encounter, if once they join in trial. Tell your nephew, the Prince of Wales doth join with all the world in praise of Harry Percy. By my hopes, this present enterprise set off his head, I do not think a braver gentleman, more active, valiant, or more valiant young, more daring, or more bold, is now alive, to grace this latter age with noble deeds. For my part, I speak it to my shame, I have been a truant to chivalry, and so I hear he doth account me too. Yet this before my father's majesty, I am content that he shall take the odds of his great name and estimation, and would to save the blood on either side, try fortune with him in a single fight.
And, Prince of Wales, so dare we venture thee, albeit considerations infinite do make against it. No, good Worcester, no, we love our people well, even those we love that are misled upon your cousin's part. And will they take the offer of our grace, both he and they and you? Yea, every man shall be my friend again, and I'll be his. So tell your cousin and bring me word what he will do. But if he will not yield, rebuke and dread correction wait on us, and they shall do our office. So be gone, we will not now be troubled with reply. We offer fair, take it advisedly.
Will not be accepted on my life. The Douglas and the Hotspur both together are confident against the world in arms.
And therefore every leader to his charge. For on their answer will we set on them, and God befriend us as our cause is just.
Falstaff.
How? If thou see me down in the battle and bestride me so, 'tis a point of friendship.
Nothing but a colossus can do thee that friendship. Say thy prayers, and farewell.
I would it were bedtime, Hal, and all well.
Thou owest heaven a death.
'Tis not due yet. I would be loath to pay him before his day. What need I be so forward with him? That calls not on me. What is no matter? Honor pricks me on. But how if honor prick me off when I come on? How then can honor set to a leg? No, or an arm? No. Or take away the grief of a wound? No. Honor hath no skill in surgery then? No. But what is honor? A word. What is that word? Honor. A trim reckoning. Who hath it? He that died a Wednesday, doth he feel it? No. Doth he hear it? No. Is it insensible then? Yea, to the dead. But will it not live with the living? No. Why? Detraction will not suffer it. Therefore, I'll none of it. Honor is no mere scutcheon, and so ends my catechism.
Oh no, my nephew must not know, Sir Richard, the liberal kind offer of the king.
'Twere best he did.
Then we are all undone. It is not possible, it cannot be. The king would keep his word in loving us. He will suspect us still and find a time to punish this offense in others' fault. Supposition, all our lives shall be stuck full of eyes. For reason is but trusted like the fox, who ne'er so tame, so cherished and locked up, will have a wild trick of his ancestors. Look how he can, or sad or merrily, interpretation will misquote our looks, and we shall feed like oxen at a stall, the better cherished still the nearer death. My nephew's trespass may be well forgot. It hath the excuse of youth and heat of blood, and an adopted name of privilege. The hair-brained Hotspur, governed by a spleen. All his offenses live upon my head and on his father's. We did train him on, and his corruption being ta'en from us, we, as the spring of all, shall pay for all. Therefore, good cousin, let not Harry know, in any case, the offer of the king.
Deliver what you will. I'll say 'tis so. Here comes your cousin.
My uncle is returned. Deliver up my lord of Westmoreland. Uncle, what news?
The king will bid you battle presently.
Defy him by the Lord of Westmoreland.
Lord Douglas, go you and tell him so.
Marry and shall, and very willingly.
There is no seeming mercy in the king.
Did you beg any? God forbid.
I told him gently of our grievances, of his oath breaking, which he mended thus, by now forswearing that he is forsworn. He calls us rebels, traitors, and will scourge with haughty arms his hateful name in us.
Arm, gentlemen, to arms, for I have thrown a brave defiance in King Henry's teeth, and Westmoreland that was engaged did bear it, which cannot choose but bring him quickly on.
The Prince of Wales stepped forth before the king, and nephew challenged you to single fight.
Oh, would the quarrel lay upon our heads, and that no man might draw short breath today but I and Harry Monmouth. Tell me, how showed his talking? Seemed it in contempt?
No, by my soul, I never in my life did hear a challenge urged more modestly, unless a brother dare to gentle exercise in proof of arms. He gave you all the duties of a man, trimmed up your praises with a princely tongue, spoke your deservings like a chronicle, making you ever better than his praise, but still dispraising praise valued with you, and which became him like a prince indeed. He made a blushing citadel of himself, and chid his truant youth with such a grace, as if he mastered there a double spirit of teaching and of learning instantly, that there did he pause. Let me tell the world, if he outlive the envy of this day, England did never owe so sweet a hope, so much misconstrued in his wantonness.
Cousin, I think thou art enamored on his follies. Never did I hear of any prince so wild at liberty. But be he as he will, yet once ere night I will embrace him with a soldier's arm, that he shall shrink under my courtesy. Arm, arm with speed, and fellows, soldiers, friends, better consider what you have to do than that I, that have not well the gift of tongue, can lift your blood up with persuasion.
My lord, here are letters for you.
I cannot read them now. Oh, gentlemen, the time of life is short. To spend that shortness basely were too long. If life did ride upon a dial's point, still ending at the arrival of an hour, and if we live to tread on kings. If die, brave death. Then princes die with us. Not for our consciences the arms is fair, with the intent for bearing them is just, when the intent for bearing them is just.
My lord, prepare, the king comes on apace.
I thank him that he cuts me from my tale, for I profess not talking, only this, let each man do his best. I here draw a sword, whose worthy temper I intend to stain with the best blood that I can meet withal. In the adventure of this perilous day, now Esperance, Percy, and set on. Sound all the lofty instruments of war, and by that music let us all embrace. For heaven to earth, some of us never shall a second time do such a courtesy.
They embrace. The trumpets sound. The king entereth with his power. Alarm into the battle. Then enter Douglas and Sir Walter Blunt. What is thy name, that in battle thus thou crossest me? Whose honor dost thou seek upon my head?
Oh, then, my name is Douglas, and I do haunt thee in the battle thus, because some tell me that thou art the king.
Ah, they tell thee true.
The Lord of Stafford, dear today, hath bought thy likeness, for instead of thee, King Harry, the sword hath ended him. So shall it be, unless thou yield thee as a prisoner.
I was not born to yield, thou haughty Scot, and thou shalt find a king that will revenge Lord Stafford's death. Fight! Blunt is slain, and then enters Hotspur.
Oh, Douglas, hadst thou fought at Holmdon thus, I never had triumphed o'er a Scot.
All's done, all's won. Here, breathless, lies the king.
Where?
Here.
This Douglas? No, I know this face full well. A gallant knight he was. His name was Blunt, semblably furnished like the king himself.
Oh, fool. Go with thy soul whither it goes. A borrowed title hast thou bought too dear. Why didst thou tell me that thou wert the king?
The king hath many marching in his coats.
Now, by my sword, I will kill all his coats. I'll murder all his wardrobe, piece by piece, until I meet this king.
Up and away, our soldiers stand full fairly for the day.
Alarum, and enter Falstaff, Solus.
Though I could escape shot free at London, I fear the shot here. Here's no scoring but upon the pace. Soft, who are you? Sir Walter Blunt. Huh, there's honor for you. Here's no vanity. I am as hot as molten lead, and as heavy too. Heaven, keep lead out of me. I need no more weight than my own bowels. I have led my rag of muffins where they are peppered. There's not 3 of my 150 left alive, and they for the town's end to beg during life. But who comes here?
Standst thou idle here? Lend me thy sword. Many a nobleman lies stark and stiff under the hoofs of vaunting enemies whose deaths are unrevenged. Prithee, lend me thy sword.
Oh, Hal, I prithee give me leave to breathe a while. Turk Gregory never did such deeds in arms as I have done this day. I have paid Percy, I have made him sure.
He is indeed, and living to kill thee. I prithee, lend me thy sword.
Nay, Hal, is Percy be alive, thou gett'st not my sword. but take my pistol if thou wilt.
Give it to me. What, is it in the case?
'Tis hot. The Zap will sack a city.
The prince draws out a bottle of sack,
Is it a time to jest and dally now?
throws it at him.
If Percy be alive, I'll pierce him. If he do come in my way, if he do not, I come in his willingly. Let him make a carbonado with me. I like not such grinning honor as Sir Walter. Give me life, which if I can save, so. If not, honor comes unlooked for, and there's an end.
Alarum excursions enter the king, the prince, Lord John of Lancaster, and Earl of Westmoreland.
I prithee, Harry, withdraw thyself. Thou bleedest too much. Lord John of Lancaster, go you with him.
Not I, my lord, unless I did bleed too.
I beseech your majesty, make up. Lest your retirement do amaze your friends.
I will do. My lord of Westmoreland, lead him to his tent.
Come, my lord, I'll lead you to your tent.
Lead me, my lord. I do not need your help. And heaven forbid a shallow scratch should drive the Prince of Wales from such a field as this, where stained nobility lies trodden on and rebel armies triumph in massacres.
We breathe too long. Come, cousin Westmoreland, our duty this way lies. For heaven's sake, come!
By heaven, thou hast deceived me, Lancaster. I do not think thee lord of such a spirit. Before I loved thee as a brother, John, but now I do respect thee as my soul.
I saw him hold Lord Percy at the point with lustier maintenance that I did look for of such an ungrown warrior.
This boy lends mettle to us all.
Another king, they grow like Hydra's heads. I am the Douglas, fatal to all those that wear those colours on them. What art thou that counterfeits the person of a king?
The king himself, who Douglas grieves at heart so many of his shadows thou hast met, and not the very king. I have 2 boys, seek Percy and thyself about the field, but seeing thou fall'st on me so luckily, I will essay thee, so defend thyself.
I fear thou art another counterfeit, and yet in faith thou bear'st thee like a king. But mine I am sure thou art, whoe'er thou be, and thus I win thee.
They fight, the king being in danger, enter prince.
Hold up thy head, vile Scot, or thou art like never to hold it up again. The spirits of valiant Shirley, Stafford, and Blunt are in my arms. It is the Prince of Wales that threatens thee, who never promiseth, but he means to pay.
They fight, Douglas flieth.
Cheerly, my lord. How fares your grace? Sir Nicholas Gauzy hath for succour sent, and so hath Clifton. The Clifton Strait.
Stay and breathe a while. Thou hast redeemed thy lost opinion, and showed thou makest some tender of my life in this fair rescue thou hast brought to me.
Oh heaven, they did thee too much injury that ever said I hearkened to your death. If it were so, I might have let alone the insulting hand of Douglas over you, which would have been as speedy in your end as all the poisonous potions in the world, and saved the treacherous labor of your son.
Make up to Clifton, also Sir Nicholas Gauzy.
If I mistake not, thou art Harry Monmouth.
Thou speakst as if I would deny my name.
My name is Harry Percy.
Why then I see a very valiant rebel of that name. I am the Prince of Wales, and think not, Percy, to share with me in glory any more. 2 stars keep not their motion in one sphere. Nor can one England brook a double reign of Harry Percy and the Prince of Wales.
Nor shall it, Harry, for the hour is come to end the one of us, and would to heaven thy name in arms were now as great as mine.
I'll make it greater ere I part from thee, and all the budding honors on thy crest I'll crop to make a garland for my head.
I can no longer brook thy vanities.
Well said, Hal. To it, Hal. Nay, you shall find no boys' play here, I can tell you.
Enter Douglas. He fights with Falstaff, who falls down as if he were dead. The prince killeth Percy.
Oh, Harry, thou hast robbed me of my youth. I better brook the loss of brittle life than those proud titles thou hast won of me. They wound my thoughts worse than the sword my flesh. But thought's the slave of life, and life time's fool, and time that takes survey of all the world must have a stop. Oh, I could prophesy, but that the earth and the cold hand of death lies on my tongue. No, Percy, thou art dest, and food for
Worms, brave Percy. Farewell, great heart. Ill-weaved ambition, how much art thou shrunk? When that this body did contain a spirit, a kingdom for it was too small a bound. Now 2 paces of the vilest earth is room enough. This earth that bears thee dead bears not alive so stout a gentleman. Thou art sensible of courtesy, I should not make so great a show of zeal. But let my favors hide thy mangled face, and even in thy behalf I'll thank myself for doing these fair rites of tenderness. Adieu, and take thy praise with thee to heaven. Thy ignominy sleep with thee in thy grave, but not remembered in thy epitaph. What, old acquaintance? Could not all this flesh keep in a little life? Poor Jack, farewell. I could have better spared a better man. Oh, I should have a heavy miss of thee if I were much in love with vanity. Death hath not struck so fat a deer today, though many dearer in this bloody fray. Embowelled will I see thee by and by. Till then, in blood by noble Percy lie.
Embowelled? If thou embowel me today, I'll give you leave to powder me and eat me too tomorrow. 'Twas time to counterfeit. Oh, that hot termagant Scot had paid me Scot and lot too. Counterfeit? I am no counterfeit. To die is to be a counterfeit, for he is but the counterfeit of a man who hath not the life of a man. But to counterfeit dying, when a man thereby liveth, is to be no counterfeit, but the true and perfect image of life indeed. The better part of valor is discretion, in the which better part I have saved my life. I'm afraid of this gunpowder Percy, though he be dead. How if he shall counterfeit too and rise? I'm afraid he would prove the better counterfeit. Therefore I'll make him sure, yea, and I'll swear I killed him, which may not he rise as well as I. Nothing confutes me but eyes, and nobody sees me. Therefore, sirrah, with a new wound in your thigh, come you along.
Takes Hotspur on his back, enter Prince and John of Lancaster.
Come, brother John, full bravely hast thou fleshed thy maiden sword.
But soft, who have we here? Did you not tell me this fat man was dead?
I did. I saw him dead, breathless and bleeding on the ground. Art thou alive, or is it fantasy that plays upon our eyesight? Without our... I prithee speak, we will not trust our eyes without our ears. Thou art not what thou seemst.
No, that's certain. I am not a double man, but if I be not Jack Falstaff, then I am a Jack. There is Percy, if your father will do me any honor so. If not, let him kill the next Percy himself. I look to be either Earl or Duke, I can assure you.
Percy, I killed myself, and saw thee dead.
Didst thou? Lord, oh Lord, how the world is given to lying. I grant you I was down and out of breath, and so was he. But we rose both at an instant and fought a long hour by Shrewsbury clock. If I may be believed so, if not, let them that should reward valor bear the sin upon their own heads. I'll take it on my death. I gave him this wound in the thigh. If the man were alive, I would deny it. I would make him eat a piece of my sword.
This is the strangest tale that e'er I heard.
This is the strangest fellow, Brother John. Come, bring your luggage nobly on your back. For my part, if a lie may do thee grace, I'll give it with the happiest terms I have.
A retreat is sounded.
The trumpets sound retreat. The day is ours. Come, brother, let's to the heist of the field to see what friends are living and who dead.
I'll follow, as they say, for reward. Now he that rewards me, heaven reward him. If I do grow great again, I'll grow less, for I'll purge and leave sack and live cleanly as noblemen should do.
The trumpets sound. Enter the King, Prince of Wales, Lord John of Lancaster, Earl of Westmoreland, with Worcester and Vernon prisoners.
Thus ever did rebellion find rebuke. Ill-spirited Worcester, did we not send grace, pardon, and terms of love to all of you? And wouldst thou turn our offers contrary, misuse the tenor of thy kinsman's trust? 3 knights upon our party slain today, a noble earl and many a creature else, had been alive this hour, if like a Christian, thou hadst truly borne betwixt our armies true intelligence.
What I have done, my safety urged me to, and I embrace this fortune patiently, since not to be avoided, it falls on me.
Bear Worcester to death, and Vernon too. Other offenders we will pause upon. How goes the field?
Noble Scot Lord Douglas, when he saw the fortune of the day quite turned from him, the noble Percy slain and all his men, upon the foot of fear fled with the rest, and falling from a hill he was so bruised that the pursuers took him. At my tent the Douglases, and I beseech your grace I may dispose of him.
With all my heart.
Then, Brother John of Lancaster, to you this honorable bounty shall belong. Go to the Douglas and deliver him up to his pleasure, ransomless and free. His valor shown upon our crests today hath taught us how to cherish such high deeds, even in the bosom of our adversaries.
Then this remains, that we divide our power. You, son John, and my cousin Westmoreland towards York shall bend you, with your dearest speed to meet Northumberland and the prelate's group, who, as we hear, are busily in arms. Myself and you, son Harry, will towards Wales to fight with Glendower and the Earl of March. Rebellion in this land shall lose his way, meeting the check of such another day. And since this business so fair is done, let us not leave till all our own be won.
Exeunt fini. Well done, everyone. Thank you so much. A very good job. It's quite a lot of history to get through with just 9 of us, so
We made it.
Yes, yes, we did, and we didn't take a break, and it was just a little over 3 hours.
No, that's right. Eleanor, you're muted, Eleanor.
Did I speak sufficiently trippingly on the tongue?
Yes, it's a good job. What did you want to say, Angus?
I was going to say, Eleanor, I think you need to wipe your camera lens. Portions of you are less in focus than you normally are. And now, Ken, you look all right.
I welcome being, chatted to be told that at any time.
Yeah. No, I just noticed.
Does it look better now?
It's a bit better. It may be to do with having the background on. I don't know.
Yeah,
that
give
was
it
fun.
another go.
All right. So
That's got better. Yeah, that's got better.
Yeah.
Okay. Anytime that my lens seems blurry, please, anyone, let me know.
Yes,
I think it's worth getting a window cleaning spray on it and give it a really good wipe.
Oh, the window cleaning sprays. Then I have to clean all the streaks of the window cleaning spray. It's terrible. I have one, but I daren't use it.
Oh, I've got one that works. Oh no, I got one that works quite nicely. Oh well, or a bit a little bit of rubbing alcohol.
Yes, that usually works quite well.
That takes all the grot off.
So, and it is,
That was
I
fun.
mean, yeah, it was. And it's like also definitely sort of ends on a cliffhanger. Okay, we got to divide our forces up because we haven't dealt with Northumberland and Glendower and all these other types of things. So, and so yes, we will have that. We won't have it next week, but the week after, which will be Labor Day weekend on Saturday, September 3rd, we'll do Henry IV Part 2.
Good. And hi to Nika and Rachel. Good to see you guys.
Yes, great seeing you. Thank you so much for stepping in, Rachel. You did a great job, and you can come back and do Part 2.
Yeah.
So.
If you still need a person, I might be able to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Following the steps of Sarah Bernhardt.
There you go. Hey, don't do that. Doesn't mean she doesn't have to go with one leg, does she?
Yes, and go around living in a coffin. Yes,
and it's good to see you again, Steve. I hadn't seen you for ages.
Thank you very much. I will try to master technology by the next time I meet with you all.
Yeah.
Turn it on.
Oh, I was struggling getting the names, the character names changed, but I got most of them. I think.
Oh, you said I was Scroop, but there's no Scroop in this play.
Well, that's actually it's the Archbishop of York is Scroop.
Oh.
I'm sorry. It's like those things.
Everyone has 3 names.
Yeah. They have many names, many different titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Angus, I said I'll master technology, not you. Because all my screw-ups, were my
you were
Adobe.
Fine.
Archbishop was probably embarrassed to use the name Scroop.
Yeah. I cheat. I have my script on a little iPad in front of me. So it's totally independent of the screen, and I just keep scrolling it up. And I found from a number of disasters that works best.
I will work on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
A challenge.
I'm guilty too. Very guilty.
Yeah. No.
Guilty.
Everybody was great. It was good fun. That was good fun.
Did Shakespeare's audience follow all of that?
Oh yeah, I'm sure much better than we do. I mean, there's a lot of sort of references and things, and I mean a lot of things I'm sure, Angus, that you know better. I mean, as an English person than as a person of Great Britain that.
Yes, it's safer. I'm Scottish.
Yes.
I'm half.
All we needed was an Irishman in that, and that would have covered
half Irish.
Everybody.
That's right.
You're gonna need it for Henry V, right? All 3.
Yeah.
I could hear the Irish accent from Mr. Kelly. I was like, oh my God, because that's an accent I need to learn, but it's so tough. So I could hear it. I'm like, oh my God, I want it more.
Wasn't intentional.
It was like so amazing. I loved it.
I actually grew up in Texas.
Cool. That's cool.
Anyway, no, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all